We're going to talk about
Let's go ahead and do that now. What's up?
the UFOs.
Oh, heck yeah, man. We did it last time. UFO hour of Brian.
UF hour. That's great.
100% talking about UFOs at the end. This is at the very end, kind of a sharing recommendation, silly fun kind of thing. Let's see. So manage chat, let people in, color commentator. If I stop talking, have something to add or clarify, you interrupt. If I go too long, or if there's just good questions that are relative, be fun. Banter, Q&A, pick the winner. If something seems super wonky tech wise, see if you can fix it. Maybe that's about it.
Easy peasy. I got a big glass of water.
Dude, I just filled up.
Well prepared.
Marketing accidentally scheduled the 15-minute reminder email to go out at 2:45 a.m.
Oh, so no.
We sent the we're going live message at 2:45 a.m. We sent the we're having a workshop message at 7 a.m.
I was wondering why somebody sent me a we're going live, or maybe I saw it in my inbox and I was like, what is this?
I thought the same thing when I woke up.
Letters are hard.
The address was me, so I got 162 people asking why in the world we were going live at the middle of the night. I'm like, oh boy.
All the Australians were like, this is great.
Europe was stoked about it. Yeah, it's good stuff.
A and P, they look a lot alike. It can happen.
Yeah, it's a really easy. I'm surprised we don't accidentally do that more often, honestly.
Yeah.
So, not that big.
No, this will be good. I saw some of the screenshots that you shared, and I looked through the slides, so I think there's a couple of spots we can talk out loud on. It's nothing too like heady, so.
Yeah. Follow the same format as last time. Not very much, just kind of duplicated slides and filled in same segments. And it's been 2 months, so basically no momentum from that one outside of the rough format we've done before.
Right.
So anyway, that should be good.
Yeah, we got some eager beavers here. I guess people just get here early sometimes, huh?
Yeah, that's why I kind of started it early. They're all in the waiting room. Hopefully we'll get a good bit more.
Yeah, I blasted. I mean, each of us, I think Christoph did too. I mean, I sent it to 40 people 1-to-1. Past calls, past pitches,
Yeah. You might even, if there's I don't know what, it depends on the number of people. I think we were at the 10 to 15 minute mark last time, we were at capacity of 100 people.
Yeah.
So hopefully the early email didn't jack that up, but the opens and clicks on the emails were better than the last one. But you might keep an eye out, and there's a few spots I'm going to try to drop if you're interested in talking more in details about this kind of thing, just put interested in chat and we'll follow up with you. If there's lots of those, it might be smart for you and Ricardo and Drew, because you don't really have visibility to who's messaging who. So
yeah,
it might be good that y'all have a text thread or something, so that y'all know who's messaging who and you're not like overlapping. And if they need a little help because there's too many of them, you might jump in. Y'all just kind of play that by ear. That might be another area to kind of keep an eye on for you. I think those two are definitely here. And anyway, I haven't really thought through the logistics of that a ton.
Sweet. Yeah, I just pinged them on Basecamp.
Cool.
Yeah, that should be good. It's funny, I was at Bible study this morning. We do a men's study on Wednesdays.
Yep.
And my buddy just took a job with a software company here in Birmingham that does like fleet management software and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was telling me about this deal, this guy in Kenya. And I was like, I know right where this is going.
What happened?
The guy was like, he sent him a contract, and he calls contracts purgatory, because it's like you can see that they've seen it, but they haven't signed it. And he is like, so I messaged this guy and I'm like, hey dude, what's the deal? Like, you said you're getting this to me Friday. It's Wednesday. He was like, I'm going to send you a letter that I am so sorry of my delay. My boss has got COVID, and he writes him this letter. I was just like, this is plus 234 right here.
You're headed in no man's land.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, I'll let a few folks
hey, what do you want to banter early on? I mean, do you have any, or you just want to?
Yeah, we'll queue up a few things. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. We'll get started here in just a few minutes as y'all are turning everything on. We'll get started a few minutes early since several of you are hanging out in the chat area. Welcome in, everybody. What's up? Thanks for being here. Feel free as y'all get in, Hannah, Alan, Marie, Will, Gandalf.
Gandalf the Grateful.
This is amazing. What's up, Gandalf? Yeah, feel free as you come in, just put in chat where you're from and what your URL is for your business, like what your business is and where you're from. Obviously, most of y'all know me. Brian, live in Nashville, Growth Tools. We'll get started here right at 3 o'clock, right on the dot. We figured we'd let everybody in early as you came in. We did send out a email and accidentally clicked AM instead of PM this morning. So we sent out a "We're going live in 15 minutes" email at 2:45 AM this morning. And all of Europe was really excited because we're finally doing something in their time zone. Everybody else was just super confused as to what was going on. So hopefully people know where we're at and can join. Anyway,
but yeah, Australia was pumped. It was perfect for them.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And we'll do an official introduction to Will here in a minute, but Will's on our team, one of our coaches and consultants. He's going to join us on Shop Talk today. So it's not just me talking to myself and all of you muted. So we'll give an official introduction to Will here in a minute. But yeah, Hannah, Alan, Marie, Drew. What's up, Drew? Good to see you, man. Kathy, Will, Gandalf, the Grateful. Feel free to introduce yourself in chat. This is going to be a workshop, not a listen shop. So I'm going to teach some things. We're going to share some things. And then towards the end, we're actually going to workshop on copy together. I know I know, Gandalf, you're killing me with it. What's your actual? We need at least a first name, Gandalf. So I'm not calling you Gandalf the entire time, unless you just want to stick with that. Stick with that. Well, I can't hear you, but if I could lip read, would be set. Hold on, I'm gonna unmute you, Gandalf, and then you can share, and then we'll mute you back, so we don't have background noise the entire time. All right, you should get an unmute notification. There we go.
Yeah, I'm Gandalf, bro.
That's your real name, is Gandalf?
Yeah, Gandalf the Grateful.
That is amazing. But from birth, your name has been Gandalf.
No, from Dad Tour, bro.
From what?
From Dad Tour, good old Grateful Dad.
Love it. Awesome. That's amazing, man. Well, welcome in. I'm glad you're
here. Back from the Jerry days, and Jerry Garcia was still part of our movie.
Awesome. How long ago was that?
I jumped on Dad Tour in 1989. Okay. My dad went. He went to see him in the 60s before I was born.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna mute you back. Thanks for jumping on and sharing that your real name has been changed and it actually is Gandalf. So we have Gandalf here. We have Alan here, Marie here, Hannah, Kathy, Taylor. What's up, Taylor? Alex, Drew. Feel free as you jump in to kind of put a quick introduction to yourself, where you're from, city, state, and your URL to your website. Be cool for everybody to kind of know, get familiar with each other. Just as a kind of a primer, we're getting close to 3 o'clock, so we'll get started here in just a second. This concept of this is something we want to do every week. We did a kind of a pilot version 2 months ago. Some of y'all were here at the end of August. It's called Shop Talk, and I just love getting on with a bunch of other people who are doing similar stuff to me and talking shop, sharing ideas, sharing what's working, sharing what's not working. We're going to just open up behind the scenes of our business and share very specifically things we're doing so you can learn from it. We're going to teach some things that we've learned recently that we're working with our clients. We want to have you on and be involved, and to make this an active part of your coaching and your online business. Whatever you're doing online, whether it's coaching or software or courses or whatever you're selling or want to do, I want this to be something that you look forward to every week. So we're playing around with the format a little bit. So feel free to give us feedback as we go. We're playing around when we do it, the time we do it. We're going to do it on Zoom for now. We'll move it to YouTube eventually, so it's a little easier accessible and you don't have to keep up with links and all that stuff. But thanks everybody for being here. I appreciate you. If you haven't yet, put in chat where you're from and the URL to your website if you have one. I would love for other people that are doing similar stuff and that are interested in your product to see your stuff and buy it and check out and become a subscriber and everything. And also, by the way, 1 minute before we get started, if you have an email that you want me and Will to write a subject line for, a killer subject line that gets 2 to 3 times the open rates that it would have otherwise, take that email, put it in a Google Doc. Towards the end of this, in about an hour, I'm going to ask you for a link to a Google Doc. Anybody that wants us to write it, we'll pull up the email and workshop live and write a handful of variant subject lines and give them to me. And you can go test them. So if you want to do that, go ahead and grab the email real quick, go into your ESP or one you've sent or one you're about to send, throw it in a Google Doc. That way I can pull it up live on the screen, and we'll use some of the things I'm going to teach you today to write a subject line for you. So throughout the workshop today, I'm going to teach you several cool tips and tricks you can use to write really good performing subject lines. In fact, the invite email we sent out for this workshop, we split test and we wrote 2 different subject lines for, and they had drastically different results. So I'm going to walk you through what the results were, how we thought about writing each one, and ultimately the method I used to brainstorm the one that actually worked the best. So we'll go over all that over the next hour or so. And by the way, we have a special guest that'll be on about 30, 40 minutes from now. He is an online marketer who's had some really cool success recently. In fact, he just bought a new house as a result, and he's fairly new in the online world as a result of his business growth over the last year. So I'm going to interview him, and he's going to share some really cool stuff he's been doing. There'll be a lot of things you can borrow, beg, and steal from to use to grow your own business. So I'm really curious about some of the stuff he's doing, and hopefully y'all be as well, and be something that's super valuable for you. Okay, so let's jump in. First off, apologies for the 2:30 or 2:45 a.m. message saying we're going live in 15 minutes. We clicked, and when we scheduled the email yesterday, we clicked AM instead of PM. So that message was supposed to go out 15 minutes ago, and it went out 12 hours and 15 minutes ago. Usually when we send an invite, we'll send one the morning of and then 15 minutes ahead of time. So that way anybody that forgets can just click on it real quick and go straight to the Zoom. But we clicked AM instead of PM. So all of Europe and Australia was super excited that we were doing something in their time zone. Everybody else was really confused on why I was up awake and talking about coaching at 3 o'clock in the morning. So apologies if that was confusing or anything. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. If you haven't yet, be sure to put where you're from in the Zoom chat, and also a link to your website if you haven't done that yet. I would love to know who you are, where you're at. And all throughout the workshop today, we're going to be talking about you and talking about how you can use some of the things we're using in our coaching business in your business. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and things you can use. So I'd love to workshop those live with you. Also, real quick introduction, Will DeShazo is unmuted and here with me. We did one of these 2 months ago, and I want to get into a rhythm over the course of the next few months of doing these every week, of doing live shop talks every week, where we just open up behind the scenes of our business and share what's working. We have clients on, we can interview, and you can ask questions of, you can learn how they're marketing in their business, things that are working for them. We'll share email copy we're using and webinar copy we're using, all the different things behind the scenes that you wish you could see of different businesses. We just want to share. So we're going to start this. We did one 2 months ago. We're doing one this week. Hopefully we'll keep them up every week. And by the end of the year, being a regular rhythm of that. I want this to be something that you look forward to every week. You're excited about, and to develop good community here. So thanks for being here. Adam and Alan and Alex and Drew and Gandalf, whose name is really Gandalf. If you were here 15 minutes early, you would have heard him tell the story about joining the Grateful Dead tour and changing his name to Gandalf the Grateful. So we have Gandalf the Grateful, whose actual name is Gandalf the Grateful here. Hannah, Jonathan, Kathy, Kimberly, Cody, Marie, Marilyn, Pam, Ramirez, Ricardo, Ronnie, Sean, Simon, Sumaya, Taylor, and Will. Welcome here. Welcome in, everybody. Hopefully we'll have some others join us as we go throughout. Let's see. Any other prep items? Prepare.
You got everybody by name, man. It's
everybody
awesome.
by name. Oh, by the way, real quick, if you just joined, if you want us to workshop a subject line for you over the next hour, take a recent email you've written and sent, or one you're about to send, put it in a Google Doc and get ready to share the link with us. Don't put it in chat yet because it'll get buried. But have it, because towards the end, we're going to just do a literal workshop or I'll screen share and we'll pull up your email and write a couple variant subject lines for you based on the things that we teach you over the next few minutes. Okay, so let's start at the top. I want to do a giveaway. We might do 2 of these. We'll do one for sure. So 2 of my favorite books that I've read this year, marketing books. One is by Alex Hormozi called The $100 Million Offer, which is just a totally ridiculous size of a book. I don't know. This is a pretty big book right here. And this one is 2.5 times the size of it, but it's super thin. And I don't know why they formatted this book in this way, but it's a fantastic, maybe my single favorite marketing book I've ever read. And it's fairly new. It's been out maybe 6 months or something. It's a fairly new marketing book. Another one, much older book. I don't know when it was published, maybe 90s or something. Doesn't matter. I was looking for the published date. Anyway, it's a J. Abraham book called Getting Everything You Want, Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got, which is a really odd title, but it is an amazingly good marketing book as well. So we're going to give out one copy. We're going to give out a copy of each of these and mail it to one of your houses, the physical books, the ones I'm holding in my hand. or we might actually send them via Amazon. I don't know, but you'll get a copy of the book at your house so you can read them. We'll share our notes and everything that I took as I was reading through as well. That goes to the person. It goes to one person who is super active. So if you're in chat and you're engaging and you're asking questions and raising your hand, I'm happy to unmute some of y'all as we go along. If you have questions to ask, we'll actually be interviewing a really good marketer named Raj in about 30, 40 minutes. So we'll have him on if you have questions for him. Whoever's active, if you're active, Will's going to pick for us. Somewhere in the next 30, 45 minutes, we'll announce the winner and we'll mail a copy to your house. So engage, join in. I want this to be something over the next few months that develops and is something fun that you look forward to, where we get to know each other really well and we can do life and business together. So a little bit of incentivizing via giveaway. All right. We're going to get to email subject line writing in here in a minute, but I wanted to share something cool that I found recently before I got started, just some really interesting marketing stuff. So let me stop sharing this screen. How do I do that? All right, let me share this.
You're going to go to the site, Brian?
Yeah.
This is super cool.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. All right, here we go. All right. This is my Gmail account. All right. So this is something we're talking about email writing today. We're specifically talking about subject lines, but I got this email in my inbox the other day. I actually got two of them. One from The Flip Side, which by the way, is a super interesting email newsletter. I would recommend, even if I rarely read it now. I keep it in my little feed where I can go and reference it. But it's a really cool concept of a newsletter. And this isn't the point of my share, but the concept of the newsletter is really interesting. One of the main problems with politics is like whatever news outlet you listen to, you only hear that side. You don't hear the other side. So the whole concept of the flip side is you get both sides. So every day they send an email that summarizes whatever the right is saying and whatever the left is saying. So that's kind of cool. Interesting email newsletter concept, not the point of what I'm talking about. The cool part is at the bottom of their newsletter, every day they send it out, they incentivize people to share it with a friend. So can y'all see this? Will, can you see this at the very bottom?
Yeah, the fancy bear with a bow tie, or maybe it's
there we go.
Yeah.
So at the bottom of the newsletter, it says share with one friend today. So very direct, clear ask at the bottom of every newsletter. Key copy moment. Share the flip side with one friend a day, and we'll enter you to win a $200 Amazon gift card. And I'm guessing from there, bear stickers, more gifts to come. Share on Twitter, share on Facebook, share via email, or copy and paste this. So I'm assuming you can just go here, sign up to this newsletter. Let's tweet it out, see if anybody signs up. You can go to Facebook. It auto-populates all the stuff. So just basic stuff there, or you could copy and paste it. Really cool way to grow a newsletter. Another one I saw a month or so ago doing this, that the visual design of it's a little different, but the same basic concept is James Clear, which, by the way, if you aren't signed up to James's, let's see if I can, no, that didn't work. Okay. If you aren't signed up to James's newsletter, I would definitely recommend it as well. It's a really cool newsletter. It's called 321. He shares, what is it? 3 ideas, 2 quotes, and 1 question to consider this week. So kind of a cool, sends it out, I think on Fridays or Saturday morning or something like that. But he does a very similar thing at the very bottom. So at the bottom of the content, he has this big graphical thing here, but is it the same concept? Share 321 and get something useful. Now, I like the copy here a little bit better. Share with one friend today. It's just more direct. But share 321 and get something useful. If you enjoy these messages, please tell a friend about 321 newsletter. And if you do, I'll send you a special bonus. And then he has this little meter right here showing that you've got no referrals so far. You're just 3 referrals away from unlocking the Great Speeches PDF. For years, I've collected a list of insightful speeches that are not widely known. I've discovered, blah, blah, blah. Here's how to get access. Use a referral code. Click to share. Okay.
And he gives you your link at the bottom.
Yeah, Flipside does a little bit easier. They have like straight to social, share via email, which opens up a mail to. Yeah, this is great. Like they make it super simple and a little more crunchy, but I love the visual of James's here. This is really cool. So one of the more interesting ways, I mean, everybody knows what a referral system is. I don't know if I've ever seen a referral system tied to specifically asking people that are on my newsletter to share the newsletter. So they use a tool, by the way. I tweeted about this a few weeks ago, and the guy that made the little tool that James is using here to do all this visual stuff tweeted back. He's like, hey, that's a thing I made. So you can go to, I'll just put this link in chat. You can go to it and just save it. How do I get to chat? Where's my chat at? Let's see. All right, there we go, chat. No, that's not it.
You want me to do it, Brian?
How to do chat. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so it's in chat. You can go check it out. I don't think it's too expensive. And Brennan, a guy named Brennan Dunn runs it, and they'll probably be running a Black Friday sale of some sort. So you can kind of keep an eye on it. So really cool share. One other share I wanted to go into before we got into email subject line writing, really cool marketing tool. So this is a cool marketing tactic that I noticed recently, a cool marketing tool that I found the tool actually about a year ago, and then I totally forgot about it. and they sent me an email, and now I've been using it a bunch. It's called VidTao. So I'll put this in chat as well. VIDTAO.
Hey, Brian, how was that subject line of that email?
Which one?
They kindly sent you.
We should
brought
pull
you
it
back.
up.
Yeah, I wonder.
Yeah, I need to check it out. I think they send, well, we'll go to it in a minute. Let me tell you what the tool does. So it's free, I think. I don't even know if they have a paid version of it, but you can find out, let's go like Russell Brunson. We all know who Russell is. If you want to see what ads that he's running, YouTube ads, which you can't go see, like it's pretty hard if you want to see, all right, what is a competitor? What ads are they running? So somebody put a competitor or a big name in their industry, whatever industry you're in chat, and we'll pull them up. But you can easily go see what ads someone is running. So you can see all their YouTube ads. It scrapes them somehow. I don't even know how this works, but they found them. And not only that, you can see how much money they're spending on them. So if you siphon up here, click the last 30 days. Let me zoom in so you can actually see this. Last 30 days. So for Russell specifically, we can see that in the last 30 days, this video, the 3 core funnels ad, is the one he's spending the most money on, 121,000 views in the last 30 days. You can then click on the ad and it will show you the amount of ad spend that's being spent on it. You can see the view graph, how many views are being generated from it. And it'll even give you kind of at least an attempt at a video transcript, which is super fascinating. And then you can go to the actual ad.
Hey, my name is Russell Brunson.
So if you want to funnel hack something or find a video from a competitor, or like if you like something we were doing the other day, because I'm about to film some YouTube. We've never really done YouTube ads, but it's great for research of all types. And we'll actually talk about this when we talk about writing subject lines here in a minute. So if you want to do like if you're a coach and you're like, well, I don't know, what are some other coaches? What are some other ads or email copy or some ideas I can get of like, what are other coaches spending money on right now? And you have to siphon through this because coach is a really bad keyword to type in, but let's see, Coach TV.
Hey, Brian, you know, this is pretty cool is you can see the thumbnail, right? Which is a big optimization piece for a lot of people. Spend a lot of time on thumbnails. So you can see which one's working best, right?
Because the thumbnail will play on the right side and the suggested side. It wouldn't play like in a in-feed ad. Anyway, anybody put in, wow, getting inside is amazing. Performance golf zone. Oh, Brooke Castillo. Okay, that's a good one. Let's go to Brooke. Surely she's running. Oh, no, that's not it. Brooke. So you can do keywords, account names. I don't know if I might have spelled her name wrong. Let me copy her last name from your text here. But she does, let's go, what is like a life coach, right? Here we go. So let's sort by last 30 days. Okay, so here's a dude. What is this guy? Douglas James. Don't know the guy. I typed in life coach and he came up. I'm assuming he's related, maybe not, but he would be in the same industry as like Brooke does certifications for life coaches or something like that. So you can then go see he's got 4.5 million views. He's spending, no, is it 4.5 million? Yeah,
I think that's right. That seems crazy, but
spending 220,000 or almost 150, $200,000 in the last 30 days on this ad. So the nice thing about looking at ads that are working, you can do the same thing on Facebook, by the way, and everybody mostly knows that. You can go to the transparency section of any page and dig into all their ads and see how much social proof they have. And the cool thing about that is you can know what they're spending money on. It's the thing that has a lot of interactions and comments. And whatever that is, that copy, that concept, the image, everything, study that, learn that. Don't steal it. That's called plagiarism, but you can model it and be inspired by it. Same thing with YouTube ads. You can get ideas for written ads or emails or anything. So really cool tool. We'll come back to that later if you are interested, but vidtile.com, it's free. I don't even think they have a paid account, so you can go use it immediately and go play around with it. 2 cool things: getting people to share your newsletter by incentivizing at the bottom, and VidTal. So 2 fun shares to start with. And yeah, y'all like that? Y'all like me sharing random things we found? Is that helpful? These are things I shared with the team, and I thought it'd be fun to just share those with y'all before we got started. Give me some feedback on that if you like that, and we'll do more of it as we go. All right.
You know what else is really fun, Brian, is like looking through ads on Facebook to see who's running what Black Friday deals and making the most of investing in yourself and saving. There's some opportunities there.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, really cool Facebook hack. If you go to buy something from, especially a D2C brand, like I love Mizzen and Main shirts, and usually Christmas time is what I put 1 book and 1 Mizzen and Main shirt on my wish list, and somebody will get it for me. But you can usually go to people's Facebook ads and find the discount codes they advertise and send out for cart abandonment in different situations. So you can almost always, for many D2C brands, like direct to consumer type of brands, you can find discount codes in their Facebook ads. Just go to their page, click on the transparency tab, and you can then pull up their entire ad library. And almost all the time, there's discount codes in there. So cool, random way to save money.
Get a deal on a pizza tonight.
Yeah, you go to your local pizza shop. Like a lot of them, if they're doing ads at all, usually there's discount codes in there. So that's fun. All right, so let's go to workshop time. The whole point of this pop-up workshop today was learning how to write killer subject lines. So put in chat right now, are you currently confident that your subject lines are performing like they should? Like, do you like how you currently write subject lines? What's your confidence level? Are you confident? Yes. Are you confident? No. Give me a basic. Hell no. Katie said, great. Let me know. Let me know kind of where you're at currently before we jump in. Not very. Pam said. Low confidence. Alan. Somewhat. Marilyn. Good. I like it. Okay. Will. Good. Not really. Samani.
Hey, right. This is why we're here.
Yeah, so that's the goal today, is for you to leave feeling a lot more confident. So let me start with this. It is extremely difficult to know if a subject line is going to work or not. Meaning, is it going to get a 3% click-through rate, a 10% click-through rate, or a 1% click-through rate? And maybe let me start a step before that. There's two things that influence whether your email gets opened or not. The first thing is your subject line. The copy of the email has zero bearing on if the email will get opened or not. They haven't read it yet. It influences zero on them opening the email. The only thing they see is your name and the subject line and some preview text, depending on the email service that they're using. But if they're using Gmail, which is the most popular, they're going to see some preview text. The other one is your reputation. If they like you or not, based on when they gave you their email address, have you treated that relationship well, or have you not treated that relationship well? So that's the long part, the relationship side. The short tactical part is the subject line. What you say in the subject line directly influences whether they open the thing or not. And if you're trying to sell via email, if you're trying to build a relationship via email, if you're trying to influence people to do a thing via email, and your subject line is not good, then it will affect everything else. And it is extremely difficult to know and to accurately guess what subject lines will work or not. So let me give you an example. For this workshop, I wrote 2 subject lines for the email that went out this morning. And I don't know, can y'all see this on the screen? Can y'all see the subject lines? It's kind of in small print. It's small on my screen. Yeah.
I got you.
By the way, Will and Pam, I can see y'all's faces for some reason. Nobody, and Will. They can see Will DeJagger, and Pam. So I'm looking at y'all the whole time I'm talking. So y'all give me a head nod.
Pressure's on Will and Pam. Yeah.
I'm just staring at y'all the entire time. And now Jonathan just popped up. So anybody feel free to turn your webcam on, by the way. It's nice to see a face and see a smile or whatever random background you have turned on. Okay. So yesterday when I wrote the invitations to today's workshop, I wrote the big invite email. And I wrote 2 subject lines. The first one was the subject line we used last time, which was something like, well, it was what was written here, Zoom with me today, or something like that. I actually didn't look up the exact one, but that's the basic premise. I actually wrote 2, Zoom with me this afternoon and Zoom with me at 3 p.m. Central, something like that. Question mark was the subject line. I wrote those 2 and I was thinking, well, that's what we used last time. So I know basically that one gets like a 1 to 2% click-through rate. What if I just wrote another one that was unrelated to trying to tell you in the subject line that this was a Zoom or a workshop or something like that? So the other one I wrote was write killer email subject lines. That was the subject line, which is a little meta that I wrote a subject line about writing subject lines. But anyway, which one would you guess got the best results? So put in chat, which one do you think got the best result? Option A, write killer email subject lines. Option B, Zoom with me today. Which one?
Overwhelming majority is going A here.
A.
Jonathan's got to B. Hannah's got to B.
A, B, B, A. Okay, yeah, mostly A. But how much? Okay, since most of y'all are in the A camp, how big of a difference do you think? 50% increase, 75% increase, 80% increase? What? If you're confident in A, tell me about how much. We'll go the person who guesses the closest wins the books. This is a fun way to give away the books. So $100 million offer. Getting everything you can out of all you got.
Jonathan's realistic at 15%.
Is this Price is Right style? The biggest.
If you're over, it's done.
200%. Ooh. 90%, 15%, 90%. Be killed A by a lot. Oh, Jonathan, yeah. Double.
$1, Drew. $1.
All right. Option A won by 2.5x. 2.5 times more people open the email from A than from B. Just the subject line. Think about if this was a sales email. Think about if this was our Black Friday email, the announcing of the Black Friday email. 2.5 times more people hit the sales page and see the offer as a result of just a few words in the subject line. Like, most people obsess over the email copy. Most people obsess over what the link says that they click on. Most people obsess over the page that they get to. But the thing that matters first, and therefore the most, in order of priority, the first thing that matters is the subject line you click on. 2.5 times more people got to the Zoom link from the first email as opposed to the second email. And that matters a lot. And it's really hard to guess. Like, I kind of like the Right Killer email subject lines one. But I had no clue. If I were great at guessing this, I would go into the gambling industry. But I'm just accurate. I'm like 52% accurate, just enough to be slightly confident, but wrong the vast majority of a ton of time as well. So let's talk about some things you can do in order to improve your hit rate. So keep this in mind as kind of an index point. A really good subject line, a subject line you spend time on and are confident about and that performs well, will get 2 to 3 times as many people to click on it. 2 to 3x increase in your email marketing results as a result of 5 to 10 words. So let's talk about 5 tricks to write killer subject lines. Trick number 1, still my best subject lines. So you can try to write them from scratch. That is totally fine. You can do that. In fact, that Right Killer email subject line, I'm going to show you how to write it in a minute, and it was not from scratch. I straight up ripped it off from somebody. Not a subject line, but another source. I'll show you that in a minute. And I wrote it in just 2 minutes, and it outperformed the control by 2.5x. So take my best subject lines. I'll include, let me copy the link over for you real quick. These are our best subject lines of the year. Literally, these are them with the open rates of the emails. These are not click rates. I wish we had a 31% click rate. These are the open rates of the email, which is the measurement of the subject line, better than the the click-through rate of the emails, the number of people that click the link inside of the email. The way to measure a subject line is the open rate of the email, the people that clicked on it in your email inbox and had a chance to read the message inside of it. So these are the open rates of the emails, which is the best measurement of a subject line. These are our best ones. The first one's kind of really long. I normally don't write super long subject lines, but maybe a nice change up, really move the needle. How we set up and ran our first affiliate program, templates and fun spreadsheets included. How to guarantee 120 people read your next blog post. So a lot of these are marketing related because that's the topic we talk about. We help people grow their businesses. So a lot of our stuff is giving away marketing assets. We're talking about marketing training or any number of things. Do this right now, ... That's one almost anybody can use in the industry. Result of last week's experiment. This plan increased sales 2.2x. How to relaunch an old product and make $2 million. 3 things to read and do used in any industry. Our process for capturing, writing, and publishing case studies. How many unread emails in your inbox right now? 4 things to install, read, and watch. Anyway, you can continue reading those. You might take out your phone and take a picture of them real quick. Grab the link that I put in chat. There's a few other goodies in there as well. One of the single best ways to write high converting subject lines is to use a subject line that you know works already. Mm-hmm. You can, if it's from a totally unrelated industry, you can use it pretty closely. If it's from a competitor, do not steal their exact subject line. Take it, model it, inject your topic, your words into it, but use the basic model of it. So for example, let me show you what that would look like. Look at number 3 on the 3rd column down here. Want 100,000 page views, learn how tomorrow afternoon. So if you're a life coach, you might say, want less stress, learn how this afternoon, ... So just inject. That's how you would model. Use the basic concept of the subject line. You just insert your topics, your words in there, and you might tweak a thing or two as you go. 3 things to read and do. 3 things to watch and listen to this weekend, ... You see the basic point. Take it, model it, use the basic concept of it, but the framework of the subject line is the thing that works. You just want to inject your topic, your words, and your stuff into it. All right, trick number 2. Use top ranking YouTube titles. Look at the second result. Literally go to YouTube and type in subject lines and look at the title of the second video that pops up. How to write killer email subject lines. So when I wrote the test subject line to invite all of you to this, I had a control Zoom with me this afternoon. I wanted something else. I didn't have any immediate ideas. I didn't even have the link to my own swipe file to pull something up. So I went to YouTube and typed in subject lines, took one of the titles that had proven to have a really good click-through rate and was really attractant to my target person for the workshop, and I borrowed it. How to write killer email subject lines. So I used the concept of killer email subject lines, and I think, what was the title of this one? Write killer email subject lines is the title that worked 2.5 times better. YouTube videos that are ranking really well rank well for the thumbnail and the title of the video. And the title of YouTube videos also conveniently make amazing subject lines. So a really good place to go to get ideas for subject lines is go to YouTube, type the keywords related to your email into YouTube and see what comes up. It doesn't work for every type of email, but it works for a lot of them. It worked for this workshop and totally destroyed the control that we'd been using for a while. So trick number 2, go to YouTube, type in your keyword, see what titles come up and use them. Trick number 3. Once you write the email, skim back through the email itself and pull out a keyword or key phrase that you naturally wrote. So we'll do this towards the end. By the way, if you have an email you want us to write a subject line for, go copy and paste it, throw it in a Google Doc, put it in chat, we'll collect them. And towards the end, we're going to pull up a few of them and write subject lines for you. So this will be the very first thing I do is skim through the email itself and look for an interesting phrase. A lot of times when you sit down and try to write a subject line, you outthink the room and you're trying to get overly fancy with it. And it turns out to be something that sounds forced or weird and just doesn't work all that well. But when you're naturally in the course of writing an email, you'll say things in a way that you won't when you're intentionally trying to write a subject line. So a trick that I use, skim the email, find a key phrase or keyword that I naturally wrote, and go stick it in one of these formulas, or just take the keyword or key phrase and make it the subject line. So inside of that doc that we shared in chat a while ago with the swipe file, there's a second tab that has a handful of subject line formulas in it. This is the tab. This is a screenshot of it right here. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. And you can read through there. Take the keywords, the key phrases that you naturally wrote in your email, go plug it in one of these formulas. It'll work really well. Or don't even plug it into formula, just use the keyword or key phrase. Again, it's not something you force wrote. It's not something that you really even thought about when you're writing, but you said something in a way that was interesting enough that when you skim back through, it really caught your attention. You're like, oh, that's an interesting turn of phrase, or that's an interesting word that I didn't really think of. Let me take that and make that the subject line. So that's a cool trick that can produce really good subject lines.
You know what else, Brian? Before we move on from that, I think there's something else to be learned, which is vice versa. Like, yeah, you could see what works on YouTube and try it on email, but what works in email subject line, if you're producing and creating content on YouTube, use it on YouTube, right? Yeah. Like keyword your blogs that way. I mean, so I think you can repurpose this in a lot of ways, vice versa on both sides of that, you know?
I totally agree. And if you're just looking for copy that works, like ideally you don't start from scratch ever. Go to use mine. I've given you them and said, go use them, please. Go look at YouTube videos, use VidTal. The titles of those videos we know convert. Go to people's Facebook ads that convert well. We know that copy converts well. Look at the top search results around the keyword or key phrase from your email. We know the title of those pages convert because they rank high in Google and people click on them, and click-through rate is the #1 sign to rank a thing. So look, like one of the main takeaways from the first couple tips is use copy that works and don't try to reinvent the wheel. Oh, good. We got a lot of Google Docs. That's cool. All right. Will you saving those so we can come back to them?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Sweet. You might look through a few of them, see if there's one that's kind of primed up well. We'll do those after we talk with Raj here in a minute. All right, let's get through tricks. Trick number 4, write 2 subject lines and use the winner. like literally just test it. I would not do this if your email list is not over, say, 5,000 people. So if you're pre-5,000, write your best one based on swipe that you can find. And we've given you lots of places to look for that, and send the thing and move on. Once your list gets 5+, 10+ thousand people, it's totally worth segmenting off 500 people to send test 1 to, 500 people to send test 2 on, see what gets the best click-through rate and send it to everybody. We did that for this invite. We sent a group of 1,000, we sent a group of 1,000, and then we sent the winner to everybody. And the winner happened to be a major winner. Now, a lot of times we send and they're like kind of the same, and we just pick the one we like and we send it. But sometimes, like in the email for this invite, you get one that's far and away a leader, and you go with that and it can move the needle a ton. It's one of the easiest low-hanging fruit optimizations of a business that's not in stage 0. And stage 0 is pre-revenue, very small audience, et cetera. If you have any kind of audience at all, you should be split testing your subject lines. And depending on the ESP you use, the email software, some of them do this for you. You can just load both of them in, tell it the parameters, and it'll just do it all for you. Other ones, I think we use HubSpot, and we have to do it manually. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but it is a big optimization point. So trick number 4, write 2 of them always and test it. Here's maybe a hack for those of you who are under 5,000 subscribers. Write 5 to 10 subject lines. And I do this no matter what, whether we test them or not. I write the email, I have a working subject line, and then at the end I come back, I read back to the email, I go check swipe file, I go check a few sources like I did VidTow, or I go to YouTube, and I just try to brainstorm 5 to 10 subject lines and just write them all out. And then I go back and pick the one that I think would work the best. And most of the ones that I've written, half of them are ones that I came up with, half of them are ones that are inspired from some swipe file, from VidTow, from Facebook ads, from a YouTube search result, from Google search results. And then I pick the 2 that I want to test, and that's what we go with. So if you can't test because your audience is too small, that's totally fine. But brainstorm out and write 5 to 10 of them no matter what, and pick the one you like the most of that group. Ideally, the one you like the most that's already proven copy, meaning somebody's running an ad, somebody has a search result of some sort, or it's in the swipe file that I've given you saying like, hey, these things work really well, try that. Does that make sense? Yeah, helpful? Cool. All right, we'll pause before we get to number 5 here. By the way, hey, Will, tell me when Raj shows up so I know we're good to go there.
Raj is actually on right now.
Cool. So. All right, cool. So we'll do one more and then we'll flip over and we're going to interview Raj here in a minute. He's going to tell us some really cool stuff he's done in his business this year and get some tactical marketing stuff that he's doing and kind of talk about his business and how he's marketed it this year and some cool results. Okay, trick number 5. Use one of my 3 favorite openers. So these are 3 subject line starters that I've seen work in marketing, in life coaching, and design coaching, and almost any kind of industry. I've seen these subject lines work well because they're basic human starting points and they're starters to your subject line. Well, the first one's just a full subject line. Meet first name works extremely well. Now, if you use it in every single email, it won't work well. So don't overdo any of these things. Mix them up and keep them variable. But meet first name. That could be an intro to a case study. That could be an intro. I could have used that for the subject line of this invite instead of write killer subject line. I could have said meet Raj, and in the subject line say, hey, tomorrow we're going to do a workshop how to write killer subject lines, and we're going to have Raj on. He's going to talk about how his email marketing, his marketing system that's allowed him to grow his business so much that he was able to buy a new house this year. And it's a really cool story. You'll learn from Raj and be able to ask him questions. Meet Raj works. Case study email. You can use it for all types of things. You obviously have to talk about somebody in the email or link to something where you talk about somebody. It has to actually make sense in the context of your email, but meet first name is a great opener. 2 other ones that are intros to subject lines. Still my ... Still my 5 best subject lines for 2020. Still my system for becoming a great life coach. Still my 3 best hacks for doing great SEO. Still my, you can use that to invite people to webinars. You can use it to send it to your Black Friday deal. You can use it for content that you're sending out. Still my works great. Number 3, check out. Check out my new YouTube video. Check out my whatever, a new tool you found, a content you're sending out, a discount code you have, a promotion you're running. Check out ... Fill in your subject line. These are 3 that I use a lot. If you just pay attention to the subject lines you get from me, you'll see these fairly regularly because they work well. Now, you don't want to overdo any subject line or people get numb to them, but they work really well. So last tip, use one of my 3 favorite openers. Meet first name, still my ... check out ... These can be used in all different types of emails, from sales emails to content emails to promotional emails and case study emails, everything in between. So 3 great. I would encourage you to take a picture of that when you write your next subject line. At the very least, if you don't go to the swipe file, if you don't go research other people's stuff, if you don't split test, go check out one of these 3 prompts right here and write at least 3 subject lines from one of these 3 prompts to write your next subject line. And then pick the one you like the best, that matches the email the most, and send that out. If you don't do anything else, use these 3 openers for your next email and see how they work for you. Okay, question for all of y'all. I've shared 5 tips for writing great subject lines. All of that assumes that you have an email marketing strategy that actually works. Would y'all be opposed to me showing you maybe like we don't want to go too long because we're right at 3:30, maybe a 3-minute overview of how we do email marketing and really how all of it ties together, from generating leads to then what we send to the leads and how that equals actually generating customers. You want to see like a diagram of that and how it works? Just would you be opposed to that? Put yes or no in chat. If so, we'll jump in. Not opposed. Yes. Okay, cool.
Let's do it.
All right. So think of this in swim lanes, 3 main steps this is any company works like this, by the way, Starbucks, Walmart, your business, my business, they all have these 3 components. You have to attract leads. You have to build trust with those leads. And then you have to monetize the leads. So every company does this differently. A lot of them have very similar systems. Every company does it differently. This is how we do it. And this is what we do with our clients that we walk them through. We attract leads. One of the best ways, if you're pre $1 million a year in revenue, and you don't, so there's a couple qualifications, and that's not the right word, prerequisites for this, I guess. If you're pre $1 million a year in revenue, which most of us are, and if you don't have some marketing superpower for lead generation, meaning if you've done SEO for 27 years, like start with that, please. You know what you're doing. If you've spent $7 million in Facebook ad spend, start with that. You know what you're doing, and you would, because that's just natural. If you don't have one of those built-in advantages, if you don't have $1 million a year in revenue, and if you don't have some built-in massive marketing superpower for lead generation, for almost every client we work with, including ourselves, this is our #1 lead gen channel still, and we're at $4 million a year in sales. We use partnerships to do that. There's 2 types of partnerships for attracting leads: commission-based partnerships and content-based partnerships. Commission-based partnerships are when you pay someone to promote your product, or you pay someone when they sell the product. You're like, hey, here's the links. If you email it out to your audience, if people buy, we're going to pay you X number of dollars. Or you have content-based partnerships where someone invites you on their podcast, or you ask to be on someone's podcast. You get interviewed, you share links to your product. People that listen to the podcast buy the product. Really simple. Commission-based partnerships, content-based partnerships. These are the 2 highest chance of success items to generate leads and sales for a business that's pre $1 million a year that doesn't have some massive marketing superpower already, is partnership. So that's the attract bucket for us. The 75% of our leads at Growth Tools come from partnerships, commission-based and content-based partnerships, podcast interviews we've done, webinars we do, guest post rewrite, lead magnet swaps, Facebook Lives. There's all different types you can do based on content ones, based on what you want to do, and some commission-based partnerships, people that are affiliates for our product, promote them, and they send links out and people buy from them. So, okay, so this is how the system works. I'm going into too much detail. This is taking too much time. Let me give you this, fast forward a little bit. We can come back to this at the end if you have more questions. So when you do lead gen, you're going to have some people buy from you immediately. So if you look at can you see my mouse on the screen, Will? Is my mouse
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So some people will buy immediately. They become new clients right away. That's awesome. Most people don't, though. Most people see the link or hear the podcast interview and they're interested. Now you're on their radar. And now you have a chance to be in bucket number 2, the trust bucket. They join your list. They follow you on Instagram. They follow you on Facebook. Primarily, the primary conversion mechanism we're looking to in order to build trust is they give you their email address so you can talk to them now. Once they have given you their email address, your singular job is to build trust with them. And we do that by sending them 1 email a week. And we have a particular methodology for doing that that's really simple. It takes less than an hour a week to write it and send it and all that stuff, because you can go way overboard here and do way too much content. The goal is to send them enough content every week to build trust with them. Once you build trust with them, you're then able to convert them to clients. And we have 3 different primary conversion mechanisms we use to do that: a welcome funnel, 2 live promotions a year, and a live webinar once a month. These things take 5 hours, cumulatively, about 5 hours or less a week to do. By doing that, you have 2 conversion points. You have at the point of them becoming a lead, they have a chance to become a customer immediately. And then everybody else joins your list, you nurture them and talk to them, and then you run these 3 particular funnels and converts them to clients. This is 99% of what any online business needs to get to $1 million a year in sales, is just execute this really well. Just execute it B-, and you'll hit the goal within a couple of years. So everything we talked about today with writing subject lines directly pertains to the trust bucket right down the middle here. The goal of that is to take the leads that you have, the leads that you're acquiring every month, and to actually build trust with them. And you're not going to build trust with people that don't open your emails. So you have to actually get people to click them and open them and at least skim them in order to build trust with them. If you aren't doing that, all those leads are going to join and never buy from you. And you've wasted a whole bunch of time. And that doesn't matter if you're buying ads, if you're running SEO, if you're doing partnerships or any other variant of that. You're going to attract leads. A small percentage will buy immediately, but the vast majority will not. They'll join your list, and it's your job at that point to then nurture relationship with them so that a future conversion mechanism, we have 3 primary ones, actually gets them to buy. Whether it's a welcome funnel when they join, whether it's a promotion that you're running for Black Friday or New Year's or spring promotion, or whether it's a webinar you're doing monthly or anything in between, they have to have trust to buy. Your subject, that's where your subject lines actually fit in the marketing system. And that's important to know. We aren't just writing subject lines to write subject lines, we're writing subject lines so that we can build trust with our audience. Now, you might have an audience problem. You might not have any people. You might not have enough new people coming in. Your conversion mechanisms might suck. Or maybe you just have a big trust problem. I don't really know until we talk about your business specifically, which we're happy to do. But this is where it fits into the overall marketing system of what you're doing. By the way, if you want us to do like a deep dive into you, just put interested in chat. And we have Will and Drew and Ricardo. They're all coaches and consultants with us. They'll jump in and DM with you and we can chat through. We have a little worksheet. I should have taken a screenshot of it. We have a little worksheet with 9 questions on it, and it'll audit real quick of these 3 buckets, which one needs the most attention, which one whereby doing it and solving it will unlock everything else. So if you're interested in that, if you want us to kind of walk through it with you, diagnose, just put interested in chat and we'll follow up and give you some details and stuff on that. Okay. And this is how we do it. We'll go over that in a minute. Put interested in chat. We'll go through it. All right. We're at 3:40. We're 11 minutes late for Raj. So let's bring Raj on now. Will, let's unmute Raj and let's bring Raj on. I want to talk with Raj is a client of ours. Raj has had some really cool growth this year, has done some really smart marketing stuff. And I want to, we usually do these interviews. I usually do a one-on-one Zoom with somebody and we just chat and ask them questions. And I thought it might be really cool to do one of these live with everybody. So I'm going to ask Raj a bunch of questions and then towards the end, we'll open it up for everybody. So if y'all have questions for Raj as we go, Will's able to interrupt me. So if Will has a question, you feel free to interrupt, or if somebody posts one in chat and they want to go deeper on something Raj said that I skipped over, post it in chat and we'll go about it. At the end of this, by the way, we're going to do 2 things after we finish up talking with Raj a little bit. I'm going to share a handful of things that I would recommend as a marketer and as a leader of a business that you read, watch, and listen to. These are fun things, some related to business, some not. And then the second thing we're going to do is pull up your Google Docs. I think we have 5 or 6 of them that y'all posted. Pull up your emails, and we're going to live write subject lines using the things that I taught you a few minutes ago. So we're going to workshop some of those live. We'll go 10, 20 minutes on that. And by the end, you'll be able to take those and send those and try them out. Sound good? Everybody in?
Let's do it.
Will, good to go? Raj, what's up, man?
Hey.
Good to see you.
I'm good. Good to see you. It's kind of funny that I got to say, before we get into anything, I'm on my second business. My first business was like a side business in like 2012 and full-time for a couple of years and shut down in 2016. And probably around 2013 is when I started reading your Video Fruit newsletters. Oh. And so it's kind of funny that, like, I don't know, 7, 8 years later, here I am talking to you. And I will say with a lot of good favor and a lot of thankfulness as well.
Well, Raj, one of the things that popped up on the radar to talk to today with everybody, which I don't think I've ever done an interview in front of 60 other people, or 68 other people. So this is a new thing for me. I've only done them one-on-one. So this will be fun. One thing that popped up on the radar for me that I thought your story might be interesting to share the story and also how you did it. Was you emailed in the coaching team and told them that you recently bought a new house and that you were able to do it as a result of the business growth that you've had this year. Would you be opposed to me asking you a few questions about that and you kind of sharing and unpacking for everybody how you did it?
No, I'm happy to share.
Okay, so let's start with the intro so everybody understands what you do and the product and all that stuff. So what's your business? What products do you sell? And who's your ideal customer?
For sure. So my company is called Startup Hype Man. The short of it is we help startups not suck at how they pitch themselves. How we deliver that is through a combination of creating their elevator pitch, their pitch deck. If they're an early stage company, we work with them on their investor pitching materials. If they're a scaling company, say they're already doing millions in revenue, we work with their sales team on what their sales pitch should be. And then we provide ongoing sales coaching. And that specifically at that point is for B2B SaaS companies. If they're early stage companies seeking investor capital, we'll work with any type of, like, the startup could be in any industry and selling any type of product. Was there more to that question, or did I cover that?
That's good. Everybody get that? Does that make sense? Like, that's super clear to me. I just want to make sure everybody had an index for what you're selling and who the avatar is. So one thing you've had a lot of success with, and you've just done a lot of in the last year, is cranking out partner workshops, using those as a mechanism to drive leads and sales. And we kind of just walked through the basic system of how the idea of sketched out wise, how that works. But if you had to pick one or two workshops or partnerships that you've done that have worked really well, which ones have been the most impactful to the business?
Oh, good question. So there's one I just wrapped up about a month ago with a company called Predictable Revenue, which maybe people on here have heard of that company before. There was a book called Predictable Revenue written a few years back.
Is that Les McKeown? Or
no, it's Aaron Ross, I think, is the founder of that. So we actually did a 4-part series where from basically midsummer through to early fall, we did one workshop together a month, essentially covering different parts of the sales funnel, like for the target audience. So it was like, it was a workshop designed for sales leaders and people in sales, which is, one half of my target audience. And so the first workshop we did in June was on your elevator pitch. The second workshop was on how to write really good personalized cold emails. The next one was on how to run a strong demo call for a SaaS company. And then the last one was on sales presentations. And these are all just like workshops I have ready to go. And that I do these with different partners, and I've been doing them all year. But this was a partner where we like packaged it all together, so to speak, over the course of a series. And yeah, from I think June and then September was the last one. And that one worked really well. Like every workshop, there was probably 150 people signed up for it. And what I also thought was really cool was like more than half of those people were showing up live each time.
Yeah.
And that drove, more recently, I think probably like 5 or 6 direct customers for an initial project. One of them who literally just signed last week. We're doing like a 6K starter project, but there's a clear path towards like a 70K deal like right afterwards. And unfortunately can't give more like clarity than that, because to be honest, like I forget who came from where. And so I'm just like, I know I've done a lot of workshops this year and I'm struggling to remember who came from which starting point.
Okay, so let me walk back through what you just said, make sure I got the details right. So you do a workshop with Predictable Revenue guy. He invites his audience to it. 150 people sign up for it.
Yeah, it's someone on their team, right? So So anyways, like, it's primarily promoted to their audience. Mm-hmm. I promote it to my audience as well, but because, a lot of my audience at this point has come from these workshops in the past, right. I don't do it like with the exact same cadence or frequency. So most of the promotion is coming from their side.
Gotcha. So you got 150 new email subscribers or thereabouts just from them promoting the workshop to their audience.
Yeah. And that was just off of like one workshop. So we did that 4 different times throughout the year. And there's a little bit of overlap, but.
And that 4 different times with them, they invited you.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
And of the 150 people, you've gotten one lead at least that paid $6,000 for first service and has a clear path as long as you do a good job to do a $70,000 contract.
Yeah.
From one workshop, one of the 4.
Yeah, exactly. I think he only attended like the 4th one.
Any other sales that are trackable or known from that?
Yeah, I know we did a lot of like small, like 2 to 4K deals. Mm-hmm. Probably like, I don't know, 3 to 5 of those off of these workshops.
Yeah.
And then just to transition off to like, other workshops that there was one I did, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago. That one converted 2 or 3 customers, and those were all between 3 and 5K. The ones that I think have the most immediate conversion are when it is with a startup accelerator or like a startup hub.
Yeah.
So for those who aren't like part of startup land, just to give you an idea, think of like a cohort-based model that either invests a little bit of money into each startup in their cohort, or they're just enrolled in a curriculum. And, like anywhere from 10 to 30 companies are going through this cohort together. They'll bring me in to lead a guest workshop on pitching. And then coming out of that, I'll get a bunch of leads. I'll get the email list, but I'll get a bunch of direct hot leads. And then the conversion rate on that, it's kind of at a point now where like, if there are, as long as the room is qualified, if there are 20 people in that startup pitch workshop, 3 to 8 of them will become a customer.
Wow. So I want to come back to the incubator. Go back to the predictable success. How did you identify them as a potential partner? Like that's one problem a lot of people have is, well, who in the world would want to partner with me? Who are they? Why would they want to partner with me? So how did you go through those and answer those questions and find them?
So to me, I don't think it's that hard to find who the right partners are, like honestly.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of looking at who else speaks to your audience. And as long as you don't overlap with one another in your offering, they are viable.
Yeah.
And even then, the overlap, you may think you overlap, but you actually don't. So like there's another partner I've got coming up next month that's supposed to happen, a workshop. And they work with scaling startups on their sales, but they are specifically focused on creating like the sales processes for the company. So like essentially building the sales playbook to say like, how do you go from lead to customer and operationalizing that? That's not what I touch. I work with companies who already have the process figured out.
Yeah.
And I help them essentially do it better. So that's still a viable partner because even though you look at that and be like, oh, we both do sales related things with startups, our service offering doesn't actually overlap. So coming back to predictable revenue, like they work with outbound, or the service they have for startups is outbound prospecting on their behalf. So cold emailing, or they also have like a build a outbound playbook kind of system for startups.
So you identify predictable success. What do you say to them to get you to not just do one workshop, but 4 of them? Like what's the email?
So,
or how do you identify them?
That all came from like, once we had the conversation. So do I have screen share, Will?
Should. Will, by the way, I muted you. You got a little bit.
So the email that I wrote was here. And literally, this person here, Vera, which is short for Veronica, she runs their newsletter. And I've been a subscriber of theirs for several months. And I saw they did something called a sales playbook series. And so I just referenced that. Hey, Vera, just saw the latest newsletter on your sales playbook series for founders, entrepreneurs, and new sales leaders. And it looks awesome. Once a company grows beyond founder sales, a repeatable and scalable sales culture is literally what makes or breaks them in a lot of cases. A lot of people are going to benefit from this series. Thank you for doing it. One area specifically in that scaling process is having the right sales deck. I've worked with a lot of founders, CEOs, and rev leaders, so I just tie it back to who they specifically serve, right? Figuring out how to capture the right story that will make customers care and do it in slides is really challenging. And when they don't have a deck that works well, their demos are ultra boring. They don't convert the numbers they want. I've got this counterintuitive presentation methodology that does these things. And I teach this method in a workshop that I call sales presentations that don't suck. It gets amazing feedback every time. Here's what one person said when I partnered with Sales Hacker on this. So I kind of leverage credibility. And I'm like, hey, I've actually done this with Sales Hacker, which is a massive sales community. I leveraged that before. And I say, hey, over 1,400 people registered for that one. And so here's that person's screenshot of that quote. And then I said, I thought we could run this training for predictable revenues audience. We'd be able to engage your community knowing that this content lands well with your ICP and drive leads for your sales team. So I didn't say drive leads for me. I said drive leads for them.
Yeah.
Since you're already partnering with Sales Playbook Builder to activate your audience, I figured this would make sense as well. Are you interested?
And from that email, what's the total number roughly of sales that are generated from the workshops you've done?
Probably, I think we're at like 5 direct sales so far, but I would not be surprised if that goes up to like 10 over the next month or so.
And the average order value is 6,000?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
So that was the initial email. And as happens a lot of times, they don't see it right away or they don't respond right away. So that was April 16th. And then on April 20th, I just did the bumping this top of your inbox, smiley. Thought we could discuss. Are you interested? To which she said, sounds interesting. I'd love to hear more, but I have a ton of things on my plate right now. Would you be okay scheduling a call next month? Obviously, that's not a problem. So mostly because even if we're a fit to move forward, I don't even have capacity for an event right now. I could probably fit it in for mid. So she's already like suggesting late June, even just in the email. Would that work? Response. Still, we'd have to have a call first. So then we had the call, and then I was like, she was like, oh, tell me more about this workshop. And I told her, and then I was like, and it's, it's one of several that I do. And then she was like, well, what if she suggested to me, she was like, what if we did something every month and we created a whole series around it? So we called it the Try Not to Suck Summer Series. Because all my workshop titles have don't suck. And it's how to not suck at pitching your startup, how to not suck at personalized emails, demo calls that don't suck, sales presence. So we did this. Yeah, we did the Try Not to Suck series.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting with something like this is, as an outsider, I look at predictable revenue and I'm like, they have all their ish figured out already because their marketing looks good. And then it turns out they're starved for content.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we could put you on every month for 4 months.
So I understand the people that you're presenting to is their newsletter. It's not a Facebook group or a Slack group, or it's like an email audience that they're emailing, inviting to the workshop, right? They just have a newsletter they need content for. You're able to provide content. You happen to be able to get leads and sales off of it. They get content for the audience. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. And, and for them, the value is they continue to put even though it's me doing the workshop, they're hosting it. So their name keeps getting in front of their audience around sales topics. So they continue to establish their credibility with their market as a resource for sales stuff. And then they probably did their own remarketing after the workshop to try and get leads for their side.
What will happen with that relationship when the series is over? Will y'all continue to do something, or what's next for them?
We have talked about running it again next year or something similar next year. I think we got through the forum. We were both like, all right, we need a breather because we just did a lot. But yeah, both sides loved it. They sent me a thank you gift afterwards. And what's nice is just kind of knowing now, like we didn't do a direct, like, let's plan out the next series. But I don't know how to put it other than just like, we're cool with each other now. So now the next time around, it's like, hey, let's do something. Like that can be the extent of the email. Let's get back in the saddle together. What do you want to do? And I know that that's just an email or a phone call away.
Have there been any, I would call them halo opportunities, things that have come to you unexpected, unplanned as a result of this partnership and the people you've interacted with? Any ancillary opportunities?
Yeah. Okay, here's where I have a crappy answer. Yes. Okay. However, I'm struggling to remember what things came from this, because again, I've probably done like 30 different workshops this year.
Yeah.
But I get people on LinkedIn, because these workshops are out in perpetuity on their YouTube page. I get people on LinkedIn who are connecting with me saying, saw the workshop you did, saw the recording. Yeah. I've had inbound leads 2 months later saying, hey, I watched the recording on YouTube. Would love to chat with you.
Yeah. What do you look for? What's the primary criteria you're looking for in a partner? If somebody reaches out to you, if you find somebody new, what are you looking to try to qualify them if they would be worth you doing something with or not?
Great question. So it was, how do I qualify them?
Yeah. What's the criteria you look at for someone to be a partner?
To me, it is so, and this comes through a little bit of trial and error. Like I found out a bad partner is one who doesn't have their own stuff figured out. And what I mean by that is basically like, I have no problem setting up the Zoom myself and running it off of my account. Like it's totally cool. But if they don't even have like an ability to promote it, probably not a good partnership. Meaning like, they're like, yeah, we have a list, but we've actually never sent an email to them. I'm like, well, you know what? The first email to them probably shouldn't be about me. So qualifiers are like, are they regularly getting in front of their audience? And it doesn't have to be, I think in Predictable Revenue's case, they have like a 15,000 person list, which is great.
Yeah.
But some of my best partnerships came from a 500 person list. So it doesn't have to be a big list, just to be that they regularly get in front of them. It helps if they're used to doing events or workshops or webinars already, because they kind of like know how it goes, and they don't need to necessarily be handheld so much. But I've even had a couple where I've literally like written their how would you call it, their email cadence for them to promote the workshop.
Oh, like the invite sequence you've taken care of.
Yeah. And I try not to do that anymore, just because I really don't have the time to also do their marketing for them. But I was happy to do that at the start.
Yeah. Jonathan has a really important question in chat. Appreciate the info, Roz. My only question is, what's in the decanter behind you?
I think it's just like bullet bourbon. I don't think it's anything special.
Cool. All right. So zoom out. For you at a high level, what's made partner workshops be a win?
It's my most effective way of being able to showcase my expertise, and get my content in front of people. And I say that because, and I hope this doesn't come off as like conceited or anything. I know I'm good on camera and have like a personality that can draw people. Like I'm also like, I'm an entertainer. Yeah. Like, so I know how to like get people going in a webinar. I know how to make it engaging for them. I've had, so to compare that, I had someone I reached out to a few months back, and I proposed the webinar, and they replied saying, hey, actually, we just launched this new like partner portal. We're looking for content. Would you be open to writing a blog post instead?
Yeah.
And I literally was like, no. and you know what? And we didn't do a webinar, and that's fine. Yeah. But I also didn't write a blog post for them. And the reason is because I'm also a pretty good writer, but that takes me time.
Yeah.
And it's time that I really don't have. A couple of years ago, I'd be like, sure, I'm happy to write that blog post for you. And there are certain stages of a business where it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
I know for where I'm at right now, and that because through all of this work, like the influx of demand has just been like insane for me. Yeah. And now I'm trying to like operationalize and scale. I don't have time to write a blog post for someone else's newly launched content site that I have no idea if anyone's even going to read it. Right. And they also wanted it to be custom for their platform, right? So you got to just like know your avenues and your lanes. And for me, I know I can be really good on camera. And the other part of it too is it creates a direct line to your business. Yeah. Meaning you not only show up for them when it's the webinar, but then you have the follow-up sequence coming out of that. And then even if they don't become a lead right away, now they're in your overall database, and you can just through your normal content marketing and your newsletter system, you can like you're able to get in front of them a lot more times. I think what's interesting for me, like the idea of the workshop is not new for me. Like I've been doing these startup accelerator workshops for years, but this was the first time through the Growth Tools program that I really made it like a systemized process of like doing it regularly, and also created a follow-up system. So before I'd do a workshop, so think before 2021, I would do a workshop and get a ton of good feedback from it. And I would just like put my calendar link on the final slide and be like, come chat with me after if you want it. I can help you with this. Yeah. And every time, again, I'd get like the feedback and the chat would be through the roof. The organizers of the thing would be like, oh my God, everyone's raving about it. But it would only generate a couple leads every time. And then I'd be like, do I need to change the content? Maybe I actually wasn't as good as they're saying I was. But what I realized after then starting with the Growth University system was it's all in the follow-up, because you can be amazing live and you can have their attention and you can be engaging. But the second that ends, they go back to the inbox that now has 50 unread emails, and they have another meeting on their calendar happening right away. And you leave their consideration set very quickly. Even if they were thinking to reach out to you, chances are they forget to, or they're just like, yeah, I'm going to do that, but I'll get to it later when I have time. Yeah. I find the most number of bookings, regardless of the workshop, come on the second or third follow-up email.
Interesting. So those are emails going out after the workshop, giving a replay, CTA to book a call, do a demo, case study, whatever. Like what
Yeah,
and
so
by the way,
like,
somebody
it's
asked
like
in chat.
workshop and then follow-up email with the recording and then some info and being like, hey, meet with me if you want.
Yeah.
Then there's the email after that and the email after that. Those two emails on the back end, that's where I get the majority of bookings.
Yeah. So, okay, zoom out revenue wise. Last 12 months before that, what was revenue? What is revenue now? You can annualize it if you'd like. What's been the result of all of this stuff?
Yeah, so we are on pace this year to do, it'll be a guaranteed 200K. And then it's very reasonable. We get to 220 and I've got a stretch goal of 240.
Yeah.
Last year was 130.
Wow. So almost double last year.
Correct. Yeah.
And primary mechanism was 30 partner workshops and just working your face off.
Yeah. I would say it's like I think I can attribute just about half of that revenue to all the stuff we've been doing in the Growth University system.
Yeah.
The remainder of it would be from just other stuff that I know how to do and like recurring client that I've had. Or clients that I've had.
Random super in the weeds question. All the leads that sign up for the workshop, join your list, don't buy right away. What happens with those people? What do you do with them long-term to nurture and get them to buy?
And this is one area that I'm trying to just get better at is building in those little mini like sales cycles within the newsletter itself. And I haven't gotten to that yet. But what they're getting in between is a new podcast episode on Sundays.
Okay.
Every Friday, we send out, or every other Friday, we send out a resource list of upcoming pitch competitions. The other 2 Fridays, they get a newsletter called, I just call it Freestyle Friday. And it's just three different articles on pitching that I like that I'm sharing with them or similar. And then periodically throughout the week, they're either getting alerts of a new workshop that I'm doing. And I always say, I'm like, hey, even if you've seen this before, it's always good to get a reminder, or it's always good to see it again. And every time we do it with a new partner, they add a certain additional insight that makes it feel like it's brand new every time.
Yeah.
So people will be like, I've had one of my customers who came, he was initially part of a new sales hacker workshop, but then he joined one of the predictable revenue workshops. He's been on 3 or 4 of my workshops this year.
Yeah.
Some of them, he's seen the same thing 2 or 3 times. And he just likes to keep coming back because he likes the message in it and he likes hearing the conversations that are around it.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the newsletter, they'll get, a lot of, hey, upcoming workshop things. And then the majority of the actual content they would get to the newsletter, I've found my biggest like content lever is LinkedIn. So I actually drive people to my LinkedIn posts through my newsletter.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, what I'll do is I'll put either a preview of it in the newsletter and say, click here to read the full thing, or I'll put the whole thing in the newsletter and I'll say, add your thoughts here, and I'll link them to the LinkedIn post. Because the more people I can drive there, the more organically the reach is going to grow.
All right. 3 quick questions to end. A couple from chat. 1, do you have a favorite subject line you've used this year that comes to mind?
Yeah. So there's a group called, so to give you an idea, the standard subject line I'll usually use for a partnership is literally just something like first name - partnership ? Or first name - content partnership.
Yeah.
That predictable revenue one, I'm just looking back. It was Vero - content partnership ?
And this is an email you're sending to a potential, this isn't a broadcast email. This is a one-to-one outreach to get somebody to do a partnership. Yeah. Gotcha.
Correct.
Cool.
And then the one I probably liked the best was there's a sales revenue hub called Rev Genius. And the guy who runs that, his name is, Jared Robin. And then I think I titled the email Batman and Robin, something like that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I definitely had Batman in the title because Batman and Jared Robin was the name of the email.
Yeah.
And he replied, he actually copy pasted my email and posted it into the Slack group of Rev Genius and 18,000 people and said, this is the best email I've received all year.
Yeah, that's great. I love it when your pitching gets commented on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fun.
So again, most standard one would be just something as simple as like first name partnership ? Which I think is like, I think I just ganked that straight off of what's in the GU like recommendation, right?
Yeah. Any last advice or parting words for someone thinking about using partnerships as a lead generation system?
Any last advice? So I think what I've seen in joining some of the group coaching calls is just like some people are hesitant to press send. Don't overthink it. Hit send. The only way you're going to write a better better email the next time is if you write one the first time and push it out there. Yeah. And really, 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 like, I can't stress this enough. The email has to be about them. One of the people in the coaching group like sent me their email to review because I was like, hey, I'll look at it. I've had success with this. And it was more or less a long email that was a love letter to themselves.
Yeah.
Right. It was not an email that made the potential partner feel valued. So if that one that we just did a screen share on,
yeah,
I mean, it's probably 70% of it was just talking about them. And the final 30% was like, hey, I have this thing, we should do it.
Yeah. And here's the benefit to you. Here's what you get.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was still about them. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you also just have to like invest yourself in the process. I did a workshop back in like early March, but I hadn't yet built out the follow-up sequence. And then I was like, oh crap, like I didn't get any leads out of that one. Like no one booked a meeting with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, but I knew I didn't do a follow-up sequence yet. And so I was like, oh, why isn't this really working? And then the second I sat down and created my follow-up sequences was when everything changed. Like I remember in March being like, I'm still running into the same issue here of like, not like this MRR needs to get higher. And then by May, I was like, holy crap, we just did a $30,000 month. Right. Yeah. And now, it's funny in like the wins portal, I just put it, I think last week or this week in the, where you have to where you type in your weekly wins. I was like, or it was either that or it was the quarterly progress report. I wrote something where I was like, we did a 20K month, but I'm actually reporting that as a loss instead of a win. Or sorry, the win was that now I'm disappointed in a 20K month, whereas before I couldn't like imagine getting there. Yeah. Now I'm like, no. Now 20 is the benchmark, and we got to be pushing 30 and 40 consistently.
Yeah.
And then from there, I know it'll scale up. So, I think it's a matter of like investing in the process, and all of this works because it's part of systems.
Yeah.
Right. If you do things as one-offs, you might get one-off success, but then what do you do the next time? So if you can systematize this stuff, it changes. It really does change how you perceive yourself as a business owner and how you perceive your own business.
And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I appreciate you jumping on and answering questions and walking us through your journey. And we'll continue to be big Raj fans and coach you and follow along, and maybe have you on in a follow-up shop talk to share updates on predictable success webinars and maybe other cool things you're doing with folks. So thanks for jumping on and even helping other clients of ours and giving them tips and advice on what you've done.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, brother. We're going to jump on and move on to a few other things. Thanks everybody for joining in. We've done a couple shop talks in the past. This is the first time we've put an interview in the middle of one. We thought we'd try it out. It's great to have Raj on to hear about him. Definitely give us feedback if you'd like that, if you want more of that, to hear from people doing really interesting and cool marketing stuff. That's the kind of thing that I'd love. I could sit here and have these kind of conversations and share tools and emails and subject lines and all kind of stuff all day long. So y'all definitely let us know what you like. And definitely, Raj just put his URL in chat. So go check it out. Go sign up for his newsletter and follow along and watch what he is doing. Pay attention to what he's saying, but watch what he's doing. Same thing with us. Hopefully the two match. There shouldn't be much incongruency between that. But watch what people do, not just what they say. So go check out Raj, go see what his offer is, go follow along to his newsletter and see when he sends out invites to workshops, and go watch one, go check one out and see what he does. All right, so let's jump in. We got a couple of things I want to share today, go over. So a lot of you joined late. I don't know why that is. I hope we didn't have another email fired off with the wrong time thing. We had one, by the way, since we have 2 or 3 times as many people in here now as we did in the beginning. We messed up an email setting this morning. Actually, I sent a reminder that we're going to start this workshop at 2:45 a.m. instead of 2:45 p.m. So a ton of people, Europe and Australia was super excited that we were doing something in our time zone finally. So anyways, thank you all for being here. And we might go back over some email subject writing tips here in a minute. But we're going to do two things left in the main time today. Number one, I want to give you a handful of recommendations, books to read, things to watch, things to listen to. Some of those marketing related, some of those are things that I just found fun and entertaining recently, some things to feed your mind. And the second thing is we're going to pull up, we had, I think, 5 different people post emails that they've written recently. We're going to pull those up on the screen and write subject lines for you. Use the things that we taught in the first half of our workshop and actually write some subject lines. We're going to do it live so you can actually see me and Will thinking through the right way to apply the things that we talked about today. Does that sound good? Everybody in? Put it in, or I'm here, or I'm excited to get thumbs up. I see Will, Jonathan, and Pam. You're still my top row up here. So thank you all for being here. Y'all hung on the whole time. This is fun. Cool. We get a thumbs up from Ronnie. Good doing. Anybody feel free to turn on your webcam and participate. All right. So have we given away a book yet, Will? Have we actually given away the book? All right, we haven't. So we're going to do it now. I think Will, Jonathan, or Pam have to win for being webcam superheroes today. One of those 3. So we'll let Will do the picking.
Let's do it.
So we got these 2 books. These are, by the way, for anybody to jump on late, these are 2 of my favorite marketing books I've read this year. One of them is by Alex Hormozi called $100 Million Offer. Maybe my all-time favorite marketing book. Although the format they put it in is obtusely large, and it looks like a children's book for some reason, but it's I actually read the Kindle version, and then I finally got my hard copy and I'm like, what is this thing? Anyway, great book. The other one is an older book by Jay Abraham called Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got. Odd title, great book too. Much thicker, longer book, but fantastic. So I thought since these are 2 of my favorite marketing books I've read this year, would give a copy away. So Will, who's our winner of these 2 books? Let's
mail that thing to Pam, because Pam gave us some awesome emails that we can look at.
Webcam superhero and email giver. I love it. All right, what we'll do for the second half of the show, we'll give out another copy. So we'll do 2 copies today. And the people who are, the person who will win will be somebody who is super engaged. You're involved in chat. You're sending us your email. You got your webcam on or participating in some kind of way. I was painting some vision of what we want this show to become over the next year in the first part. But what we want is just to be a place that people that are running online businesses can come once a week to hang out, get to know each other, hear and share things that are working for you, and learn some things you can directly take this afternoon and apply to your business. So we did one show 2 months ago, made a few tweaks, doing another one today, and you'll start to see the cadence pick up over time and some of the tech and some of the quality change as we go. We very much believe one of our core values is firing bullets than cannonballs. So we'll start super janky early, iterate as we go. So your feedback, the things you like and don't like, when you leave and stay, directly influences what the show will become. But I want the show to be something that we all literally, it's just the highlight of our week to come hang out together and to learn and to share and to participate. So I appreciate y'all. I want to incentivize the being here and sharing. So we'll give away some books, give away some other cool prizes over the shows. All right. So I want to give a few recommendations. I love giving recommendations for TV. I literally keep a note on my phone. This is ridiculous. Called, it's technically called Quarterly Journal. I don't know. Can you see my phone? So I keep in the notes in the top right corner, a link, and it opens up a note called Quarterly Journal. And at the top, there's a bunch of things. Actually, this is random share. Shows and movies we're watching, and then I rank them. So I don't know if you can see, but there's thumbs up, a thumbs down, or number of thumbs up. Books I'm reading, and then shares and recommendations. And then the 4th bullet point is things I've changed my mind on recently. It's almost like a journal for me of things we're watching, things I'm reading, cool things I've come across, and then random things I've changed my mind on recently, which is an interesting question to ask somebody over dinner. What have you changed your mind on recently? You'll get some stares and interesting looks, and then some really good conversation. It'll prompt some very interesting things. Unless you're around election time, just avoid that conversation altogether. Okay, so I want to share. I love sharing recommendations. So I'm going to give you a business book first, and then 2 non-business, and 1 totally random out of nowhere that will become I'm insistent that as we do this show, the very last thing I share will be a recurring segment on the show, and then we talk about because I totally love the topic. but it has nothing to do with business or marketing or anything. Okay, so first book recommendation. I'm actually reading this book right now. I bought it when it first came out a year or two ago, maybe 2 years ago. So I've had it sitting on my bookshelf. I read the first chapter, and now I'm knee deep in it. It's called Never Split the Difference by a guy named Chris Voss. He is a terrorist negotiator and FBI negotiator. I don't know. Maybe there's two different things.
I think it was FBI. And I can't believe you didn't read this whole book, because you told me 2 years ago to get it, and I got it and read it, and you're finally picking it back up. It's great.
I read like the first 2 or 3 chapters. Now I'm on chapter 5 and I'm reading new stuff. I'm like, man, I should have read this way earlier. Anyway, the whole premise of the book, I think he was a terrorist negotiator and then he became an FBI negotiator, because I know he like negotiated with terrorist organizations. Anyway, the common kind of refrain in negotiation or going back and forth with somebody is, maybe we'll just split the difference. We'll meet in the middle. And he's like, you just can't do that if you're negotiating for humans. You can't say, you keep 2, I'll keep 2. We'll just call it a day. So he kind of goes back to first principles of negotiating and outlines some absolutely fascinating concepts that I actually did a whole write-up on chapter 4 this morning to the team and sent a note out. And he talks about, I'll prime you a little bit. This is chapter 4, I believe. And he talks about the word no, how most of us, if we're trying to get somebody to do a thing, say buy your product, say you're doing a webinar and trying to get somebody to buy your product, or sending an email out and you're trying to get somebody to buy your product, or writing a Facebook ad, trying to get somebody to buy your product, reaching out to a partner, trying to get them to say yes so you can do a partnership together. We all want them to say yes, and we try to avoid no's. He makes a very compelling case that you shouldn't try to avoid no's, you should try to get no's. And in fact, relinquishing control of the conversation so that people are willing to say no is the single best way to build trust in a conversation. And he gives this case study. He talks about this political fundraiser guy named Ben something. I forget his last name, Owenhoff or something like that. Anyway, and he talks about, he had this phone sales script where he would reach out to donors. I think he's a Republican. So he reached out to, I'm sure, some GOP list of donors, and he would just call them. And his script was he called it a yes pattern script. So the questions went something like this. Hello, Mr. Smith. Is this a good time to talk? Yes. Do you believe that the opposite party, that they're crazy? Yes. Do you believe they're responsible for all the things that have gone wrong in the world? Yes. Well, do you want to stop them from doing that? Yes. What's your credit card number so that you can donate to help this? So it's all those aren't the words. I'm exaggerating, but you get the basic gist. They were all like, yes, 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 yes. Okay, great, donate. And he wasn't hitting his goals. So he just flipped the script, and instead of asking yes questions, asked no questions. And I'm going to do a terrible job of recalling this off the top of my head, so we'll fill in the gaps here. I actually wrote this out. I should remember the questions, but this no script was, hello, Mr. Smith. Hold on. Let me just turn to the book. Let me read it, because these are fantastic. I have it bookmarked. Let me just read these. You'll get the point way better than me making it up. All right, here it is. Page 90. I'm calling from the XYZ committee, and I wanted to ask you a few important questions about your views on our economy today. Do you feel, this is the question. Notice the difference. This is not a yes question. This is a question specifically designed for him to say no, because no gives the person control, and it makes them not feel like you're trying to get them to do something. When a used car salesman gets you to say, do you need a car? Yes, I need a car. And he asks you a series of these dumb questions. It actually breaks trust. It doesn't build trust. You can ask slightly dumb questions that lead to no, and you don't break trust. Watch it. Like, listen to the script. It's fantastic. Do you feel that if things stay the way they are, America's best days are ahead of it? His answer, no, things will get worse. Fundraiser, are you going to sit back and watch the president take the White House in November without putting up a fight? No, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen. If you want to do something today and make sure that doesn't happen, you can give the XYZ committee money, which is fighting hard to work for you. Anyway, he flipped all the yes questions to no questions, and the result was a 26% increase in donations. Same questions, just contexted in no versus yes. Anyway, he makes a way more compelling case than I just did for using no questions very strategically. Oh, let me give you one more in context of Raj's interview that we just did. He gives us, this is page 92. He talked about an email. If somebody's not responding to an email, what do you do? So Raj mentioned the follow-up being super important. If you've reached out to a partner trying to get them to allow you to do a workshop and they don't respond, what do you do? If you reach out to whatever, you could do this to your email list or to a Facebook ad or whatever. He said, so let me read this section. There's nothing more irritating than being ignored. Being turned down is bad, but getting no response at all is the worst. It makes you feel invisible, as if you don't exist. and it's a waste of your time. We've all been through it. You send them an email you send an email to someone you're trying to do business with and they ignore you. Then you send a polite follow-up email and they stonewall you again. So what do? This is his suggestion. This is genius. You provoke a no with a 1-sentence email. And if you think about no, every no you get, and this isn't a committal no, this isn't a no, I'm not interested. This is a giving them a no, like in the context of the questions I gave earlier. So this is the question he recommends. If you're stonewalled on a prospect, if you're stonewalled on someone that won't respond, send an email, and this is the only thing it says. Have you given up on this project? That's your email. Will, the context for us on the sales team, literally email every prospect that's just stopped responding with, have you given up on your business? That's the whole email. And what does that do? It provokes yeah, actually, I decided to can the whole thing. Great. I'll just take you off my list. Or no, I haven't given up on it. I'm ready to go. In which case you start a conversation, or you probably seed a couple other no questions to try to get them to build trust so that you can get on a call and actually have a conversation. So really good book, way longer of a recommendation than I intended to give, but there's probably a dozen strategies like that he's used to totally revolutionize terrorist negotiating and hostage negotiating over in the world. And they've totally rewritten the book on negotiating as a result. And there's tons of practical life, marriage, kid, and business takeaways from it. So Never Split the Difference. Fantastic read. All right, let's go non-business related recommendations. 2 shows to watch. I like giving a show not to watch that's overrated, but we've just watched a lot of good shows lately. So I don't have a bad one recently. Actually, the other day, we watched Yellowstone, actually, which is a fantastic show. If you haven't watched it, I absolutely love it. It's season 4 just came out. Do y'all watch it?
No, man, I have got to pick it up. We don't have, I guess, is it on Paramount Plus? Whatever it's on.
Random station. If you have Comcast or cable, you have probably the station somewhere. I think we watched the first season or 2 on YouTube. You can rent it there. But man, it's so good. But it's super heavy. So we finished that and we went over to Netflix and just looked for the #1 rated show. And it was some movie. I went to find the name of it. It was so stupid. It was like a Hallmark movie or something. It was really bad. We both fell asleep in it. Anyway, so don't watch the random movie that I haven't given you the name of. Anyway, the second show recommendation. This is on. So Yellowstone is on some obscure network, like Paramount Plus or something. You can find it on YouTube. That's right. You can probably get it on Hulu or something. You can
also buy it on Amazon for like just as cheap as to rent it. So there you go. That's an option.
Really good. Watch the first season. It's fantastic. It's like I recommended it to a friend the other day. It's like the show Billions I think that's on Showtime. It's been out for a few years. Really good show. It's like that, but set on a ranch in Montana. It's Billions, but cowboys. So if you like Billions, or if you heard about it or seen trailers of it and seemed interested, go check out Yellowstone. Second one is on Hulu called Only Murders in the Building. And it's got, who are these people? Chevy Chase. That's Chevy Chase, right? Martin Short and Selena Gomez. Who Steve I've only known. Right? What's that?
Steve Martin, right?
Steve Martin. There you go.
Yeah. Plays a mean banjo. If you didn't know.
What's that?
He plays a mean banjo.
Yeah, and he actually plays it in the show too. Have you seen it?
No, I've never seen it, but I have seen him live play banjo, and he's great.
We need Yellowstone and Only Murders in the Building updates from Will next week. Both really good shows. Only Murders in the Building is super light. This name Murders in the Building sounds really heavy, but it's basically the whole premise is they're doing a true crime podcast about a murder that happened in the building. And anyway, it's really cool. And they basically take Sarah Koenig from Serial and give her a different name, but she's in the show. And it's Tina Fey, I think, plays her. But they kind of bring in some pop culture stuff. And it's really fun, but like a legit good show as well with really good actors. So that's a recommendation there. All right, third recommendation. I love giving recommendations. I love phrases. I actually keep a note file on my phone called Magic Phrases. And these are usually questions or things. I use them in context of marriage, of things to say or not say, or ways to say things more efficiently or more effectively. So here's one we learned from a marriage counselor recently that is fantastic. First of all, things not to say. What's wrong? Why are you freaking out? I mean, obviously, none of us would come from a good place and say that. What did you do? It's no big deal. Those things aren't helpful things typically. Here's an example our marriage counselor gave us. He said, if Stacy walked in the room and her arm had just got chopped off, would you ask her why she's freaking out? Would you ask her, what did you do? Would you ask her what's wrong? No, you wouldn't ask her any of those questions. You would literally immediately and instinctively ask what happened, because something happened. Like, that's not normal. So like, what happened? Great question. If you Great question for your spouse. If something's happened that you don't quite understand, that you feel instinctually reacting in a negative way, you're like, I don't know what else to say. Ask what happened. It's disarming. It isn't confrontational. It doesn't insinuate that they did something wrong. Like asking what's wrong insinuates that something went wrong or they did something wrong. And all those takes usually can take the conversation in a weird place. I found this to be helpful with the team. Like if somebody on the team is, irritated, if somebody's on the team is obviously triggered by something I did, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just ask, hey, what happened there? Great question. Totally disarming. And it gets to you and them being on the same side, and whatever the problem is something you're both looking at together versus being on opposite sides of it. So great phrase to put in the arsenal to ask, specifically in marriage context, but also works in all kind of relationships. Okay. Is that helpful? Try it. Somebody try it this week. Let me know how it works. When your spouse comes in, they're irritated, they're pissed off, they're obviously upset about something, literally just ask what happened. And do it in a downward tone. Don't ask like, what happened? Like, don't ask in an accusatory tone. Turn your tone down towards the end. Ask what happened. You'll find the conversation goes way better.
Ooh, hey, Chris said, love that as a subject line. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that would be a great
re-engagement or something. I like that.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could do it like an end of year email. I mean, all of you could take this. Like what happened? And the whole email is about 2021. Did you accomplish whatever it was you wanted to accomplish? In our context, it'd be business growth. In your context, it'd be whatever the problem is that you solve.
Yeah, that's good.
What happened would be a really good subject line. You also could be provoking in the subject line and go, what's wrong? Or why you could like intentionally provoke in the subject line and then use the email to actually get to the healthy conversation. Anyway, all that could be interesting stuff. Okay. Final recommendation, totally out of the blue. I found this topic absolutely fascinating. It has nothing to do with business at all. We call this UFO Hour with Brian. We did on our team. So let me give context for this. So at our team meetings once a quarter, we have a summit either in person or virtually at our team meetings. And somehow, probably through Joe Rogan episodes or some podcasts I listened to, the topic of UFOs got put on my radar, and I found it absolutely fascinating and fun and just entertaining to pay attention to. And it just so happens that right now there's tons of like all kind of governmental documents coming out and research happening in the topic that's really interesting. So this article came out, I think maybe yesterday. Somebody sent me a link yesterday. I've let enough people know that like I love the entertainment value of the topic, and there's now like fairly legit stuff around it. So I'm going to post a link in chat. If you need fun, entertaining, yet thought-provoking reading tonight on a topic that you did not anticipate for me to bring up on a subject line writing workshop, go check out this one. This guy who's interviewed in the article by a reputable UK publication is the guy who ran the government program called ATIP, who for, I don't know how many years, 5-10 years, received tons of money from the Pentagon, was under the Pentagon supervision, and the program just ended, and now he's doing tons of interviews everywhere, basically talking about everything that they discovered. So I'm going to read a couple of the questions to prime you on this, so you'll read it tonight. One question: what makes you convinced that these flying objects haven't been made by the U.S., the Chinese, or any other government? So he answers that. When you initially spoke to the New York Times, were you worried about repercussions from it? And he talks about being threatened by the FBI to be arrested and have a security clearance taken. Do you have a sense of why they didn't raid you and throw you in jail instead of letting you talk? Everybody talk. Answers that question. Another one, let's talk about crash retrieval and debris. Do you believe we have recovered craft? Do you believe we have organic matter? Anyway, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fascinating article. There's tons of stuff. You can just Google the guy's name and find stuff around him. Also, I read my first book on UFOs the other day called Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. Totally ridiculous title. Written by a Peabody award-winning journalist named George Knapp. The intro is written by Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and features a billionaire named what's that guy's name? Robert Bigelow. But it walks you through like from the mid 90s until now, why the government just released a bunch of documents in the summer talking about UFO stuff and why that even matters and why we care about it. And is this all just a bunch of crazy stuff or not? Anyway, totally fascinating read. People sent me enough articles. I listened to enough interviews on the topic that I finally read a book about it, and it's a really fun read. So if you're interested in the topic at all, or just want an entertaining read, go check it out.
You know, Brian, I'm actually stunned at the amount of people that stayed on through this UFO conversation. So kudos to all of you guys.
People just drop off when we do that. Hey, we did a poll for the team at our last team meeting, no lie. One of our core values, by the way, is we don't take ourselves too seriously. So we tried to just literally have fun while we're doing things as well. So at the last team meeting, a whole 5-minute diatribe about UFOs, and we did a poll in Zoom. Do you believe UFOs are real or not? And I think 80% of the team said yes, which was amazing. We had one team member that said he thought dinosaurs and UFOs were totally a hoax. So we're going to have him on to present his case at a future Shop Talk Hour.
Hey, and Brian, side note, well, to the subject, Jonathan in the chat just mentioned George Knapp. worked with a station in Vegas and interviewed Bob Lazar. So if you guys really want to talk about Bob,
you're down the rabbit hole, man. I love
go
it.
check out the episode with he and Joe Rogan. That's one of Brian's favorites. That's really what set it all off.
Bob Lazar. Yeah, look at the 2017 New York Times front page article. That was the thing that kind of kicked off a lot of the current stuff and allowed the Pentagon to release a bunch of stuff that's interesting. All right, enough about UFOs. We spent way too much time on that. But I am going to share a random UFO article at every shop talk just to be ridiculous and also to give you something to think about. Okay, let me do this before we jump into workshop time. We got some Google Docs up. We got some emails we want to write, or some subject lines we want to write for emails that you've shared. Do we want to refresh over the tips real quick? Who all was here for the tips section? I think we had a bunch of people show up 45 minutes after we started. During Raj's interview, we saw attendance numbers jump up. Do we want to do a quick primer back over that, or do we want to jump into email writing? Just put in chat, tips or write. Tips, we'll go back and do like a 5-minute run through. Write, we'll jump straight into Google Docs and write.
Let the people write.
Right. We got no tips. If you want a tip, you better say tip. Okay, we'll go right.
Hey, Brian, I sent you over a couple privately in the chat if you want to pull them up and screen share.
Okay. Luca said, okay with UFOs, but stay away from flat Earth. Yeah. I've seen nothing beyond just total insanity with that topic. So nothing of interest to explore. Chat. How do I get chat? Hey, can you bump one fresh for me? I think chat's kind of big.
Yeah. 1 sec.
I want the tip. All right. We'll do, Stephen, we'll share tips as we go. I'll probably refer to them myself. We'll have to, yeah, while you pull that up, let me just give the 20 second version while Will's sharing the Google Doc with me. Still my best subject lines. Number one thing, don't write them from scratch. Use stuff that you know already works. Still my best subject lines. I'll give you a link to them. Use top ranking YouTube titles. You know those work. Skim the email that you've already written and use these formulas that are inside of the swipe file and plug the keywords and phrases into it. And number 4, write at least 2 and test them. If your email list is small, write 5 to 10 of them and pick the one that you think is the best. And number 5, use one of my favorite openers. Meet Nancy, meet first name. Raj even confirmed that. His best subject line is the person's first name. Same basic concept. Still my, fill in the blank. Check out, fill in the blank. Use one of those 3 openers. I showed you over our marketing strategy. Oh, by the way, let me share this real quick. Raj talked about our coaching program a good bit. We run a coaching company. Literally what we sell is coaching. So we do one-on-one coaching. We guarantee results. If you don't get an ROI in less than 90 days, you get your money back and $1,000 to hire another coach. If you're interested in us going deep with you on writing subject lines, setting up your entire marketing system, auditing your business, just put interested in chat and we'll follow up with you and give you details and stuff. Okay. You got me a Google Doc?
Yeah, I just sent you 2.
All right, sweet. I'll pull up the first one and I'll go to screen share as soon as I figure out.
Hey, Brian, are we going to blast out a replay on this?
Yeah, Saturday's email will have a replay in it.
Cool.
So we started sending out a Saturday digest of just a hand, because we're sending an email a day right now, like a resource or a thing to use or a tool to check out. Do that every day, and then Saturday we do a roll up of all of them. And pretty soon I'm going to add a link in there. So if you don't want to get one every day, if you just want to get the roll up, you'll be able to do that. So we'll add that soon. Okay. Let me share the screen. Okay, there we go. Whose is this?
This is from Pam.
Oh, Pam. Cool. Got the book and a subject line. Good day. Okay, let's skim the email. It's not too long, so we'll read the email and then see if we can come up with, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to file, make a copy so I can edit this.
Hey, Brian, let me ask you this before we dive in. Yep. Do you always write the email and then work on the subject? Or do you ever do the subject and write the email?
I usually, literally, this is what I do when I write emails. And I write 1 to 2 a day. Because I love writing. So I usually start my day by reading. And then when I sit down at my desk, the first thing I do is write. So I literally open up a blank Google Doc this morning, opened up a blank Google Doc, type in, I wanted to write about the no thing from chapter 4 of Never Split the Difference, the thing I told you all about. I wrote a version of that out. So the subject line was something like no equals 25% increase in sales. I found it hard to write the full email without at least a working subject line. And then I go on to write the body of the email. I just type everything out. And at the end, I'll come back to the top and I'll come in and just brainstorm out 5 to 10 other subject lines there. Then I'll spend another 5 minutes and look at the swipe file, go to YouTube real quick, check out some ads and just like prime, like, is there any way I could punch this up or talk about it? And then I just post it and it's done. And marketing takes and sends them and schedules them. So that's the basic flow. So I'll write at least 1 to start with. And even during the email, I'll come back, and if a subject line ideas come to mind, then I'll just come back up here and put them as I go. But at the very end, I'll spend 5 minutes or less on the rest of it. Okay, let's read Pam's. Depending on the age of your kids, high school graduation may seem like a long way off or like it's right around the corner. In either case, it's never too early to help them think about their, okay, we're going to do some copy editing while we're going too. In either case, it's never too early to help them think about their future and the possible pathways available to them. In today's podcast episode, I interviewed education coach and consultant Stephanie Haynes. Her new book, titled College is Not Mandatory. Hey, that's a really good subject line. Guides parents through navigating all the options available to kids after high school and provides strategies and specific open-ended questions to use in conversations with teens about their future. That's a really long sentence. The episode 50 minutes. The episode 50 minutes long is jam-packed with information, including the 5 major pathways available to high school students after graduation, when to start having conversations with kids about life after high school, and how the college for all mentality is hurting kids. We're also giving away a free copy of her book. Something there with free book that's kind of interesting. What I'm really looking for here, Pam, is just a hook that's interesting. And what I find a lot of times, if I find a hook, like you could write this whole thing around a free book. Subject line could be free book. I would probably rewrite the email to focus on the free book and then get to the thing, but you could do that if you wanted. There's 1,000 ways you could write this email. But I'm just looking like, what's an interesting hook in this whole thing? We're also giving away a free copy of a book. Giveaway details can be found here. Have an amazing week. Click share, listen. All right, there were some interesting things in here that I had a hard time processing because the sentences were so long, but there were a couple of different guides, parenting through navigating all the options available to school after high school, provide strategies and specific open-ended questions using conversation with teens about their future. Something about, well, there was something in the number 5. The 5 major pathways available to high school students after graduation. Hey, let's unmute Pam too. So if Pam wants to talk, you don't have to sit there and just listen to us.
Hello.
There's your email. There you go.
Hey, Pam.
Thanks for the books.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Thanks for the email.
Yeah, I
right,
actually
so-
already sent this, but I'm liking what you're doing. So
Yeah, I'm going to give you some copy tips too, but I'll
Okay.
try to keep it focused on subject line specifically. So there's a couple interesting things here to me. One is the name of her book is good. That's a really good
Yeah.
name. It kind of opens the concept of there's 5 major paths to take after high school, which I think is the main hook of this podcast episode. To me, that's of everything I read. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Everything else feels a tad kind of squishy and vague a little bit. This is like, hey, most parents think, and I love this framing for an email, by the way, most people think that there's one path after high school, college, or you're going to be homeless. But really, there's 5 major pathways after high school. Pathway 1, pathway 2, pathway 3, pathway 4, pathway 5, and literally list them out in bullet point form with no explanation, just by name. In this episode, we're going to go deep in describing all 5 pathways and talking about what pathway fits what kid the best. Click here to listen to the episode. You've educated me, you've hooked me in a little bit, kind of like I did with this book. I did a kind of a crappy version via just off the cuff, but I talked about, hey, he's a terrorist negotiator. That's a really cool hook, by the way. And I was like, hey, he used this one technique called the no technique or whatever I called it. And here's an example of it. Now, if I did a decent job of that, it gets you interested enough in the hook of the book and a particular concept that you want to go buy the book now. And you have a very similar thing when you're teasing content out. You need to find the hook of the content. And I'm going to show you, this is getting off track a little bit, but I think probably helpful. So we do this I just did this today. I know none of this makes sense, but let me show you an example. All right. This is an email that I critiqued today that Bill and our team wrote. He actually did a fantastic job with this. So what this email does is gets people to click to go to content. You're doing the same. You have a podcast episode. This is a blog post. Doesn't make a difference. We want to tease the content enough to get them very interested to go read it. Like we want a cliffhanger almost, but to get them emotionally invested and logically invested, they want to go listen to the thing. So the way we do that is using something called the bullet hook framework. So notice there's 2 distinct parts of this email. There's the first half that is singularly focused on one hook. There's an image to visually represent it and to get you to tease in, to tie to the hook. And then there is a handful of bullet points. And you actually do all of this in your email. The format's a little bit different, but, and then you have bullet points to like really, if you just skim it, you're going to catch one bullet point, it's going to pull you in, you're going to click. So let me read through this and notice what's happening here. You get a good, and this is a really long blog post. This blog post is, I don't know, like an 8,000 word blog post. So you have to find, there's plenty of hooks you could pick in it. There's plenty of interesting things. It's one of the most, I think it's the singular most popular blog post I've ever written in 8 years or something. So there's lots of things you could talk about, but you have to pick one for the email. I used to think that a successful product launch consisted of 3 things: deep pockets of spin ads, a big email list, and a perfect product. Good news, you don't need any of that. That flows really easy into it. I don't have to like process or heavily lift any of that stuff. I'm going to walk you through how I launched a product that generated X in 10 days without ads or big email list. I put together a complete roadmap so you can follow my footsteps and crush your next product launch. Click here to take the guesswork. My light just went off. Out of your next launch. So that's a really good hook that gets you in. I think you have a similar thing with most parents think that there's only one path. You have 5 paths. In this episode, I'm going to show you which one is best for your kid and how to decide. Click here for it. P.S. We have a book giveaway for the book called whatever the name of it was. That was a really good title. But anyways, I would do some massaging on the email itself as well. But I think, man, I like the title. Okay, so this is my ideas. Let's go to YouTube. Which might be a good title as well. Let's throw that in our list. Where are we at? Oh, dang it. Where did yours go? Oh, there we go. 6 reasons Generation Z will stop college. Should you skip college? That's a good one. 44,000 views 4 years ago. It's ranking. It's old. Man, that's a really good subject line.
I love the "is it worth it" second description too. That's cool.
Yeah. Should you skip college? That's fantastic. Should you ever skip class? Should you skip college? Should I take out student loans? I'm sure Dave said yes to that. I'm struggling with the other phrases. Should I really go to college? Kind of variation of that.
Would you look up something about what to do after high school?
Yeah. How to find your path after school. I mean, that one's old and got a decent number of views. 7 important things you should know after high school. That's interesting.
Yeah, I like the "what to do after high school" thing too that Gary Vee posted. It's pretty good.
I like something around the five paths concept. It might be worth going to her book.
No, that's me.
Is this the thing? No, that's not it. All right. What was the name of her book again?
College is not mandatory.
College. See if there's any interesting copy here. Oh, that was the book. Okay. Parents like you and help a team. I'll give you 3 things. Get into our culture. Parent focus, insight, strategy. All right. Let's do one other thing. Let's go to VidTal. See if there's anything interesting here. Since we mentioned this tool today, see if we pull up anything. College, that's a terrible word. This one might be harder. This is probably easier if you know like some influencers in the space or companies that focus on this particular. Might be harder to keyword it. You might have to know some specific companies around it. We could Google around longer. Let's skip college. Let's do a Google search for it as well. See what comes up. Skipping college, 5 reasons you should do it. That's interesting because it kind of ties into the 5 paths thing.
Yeah, and I think this also ties into your audience too, Pam. Like, are you pro college? Are you not? Like, what are the ages of their kids? Where are they in school right now? Right? Like, and obviously you know your people better than we do on the fly here, but those are all things to think in mind too.
Yeah, I would tend to use one. Both of these, one of them is the book name. It's a really good book name. And it's a little bit controversial, I would guess, with your audience. College is not mandatory. Just making a declarative statement, and it ties very much into the interview. I think that has a high chance of working. And should you skip college, that was one of the number one search results. And there's lots of things in Google search and YouTube search that kind of echo a very similar one. So that would be what I would try. If I could wave a magic wand, I would test one to a small group, the other one to a small group, and send the winner. If I just had to pick one, I'd go with the proven one. Should you skip college? But I like the attitude of this one, especially if you don't use attitude to the list very directly a lot. Like we don't a ton, but the other day I got pissed off at something and wrote a whole email series, and it was all like screw 2022 stuff. And it was just like all with like a very aggressive, in your face tone, which works. You can't throw that curveball all the time, but if you don't do that, that can be very effective. And that might be just a copywriting tip in general. Do the opposite of what you currently do. If you're super passive, be aggressive. If you're super aggressive, be passive. If you're, there's variations besides just those two, but that can be very effective. All right. Is that helpful?
Very, yeah. And
Cool.
and just in terms of copy, you said a couple times that my sentences are too long.
Oh yeah. I would just break all.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's me writing this, I would go use the bullet hook framework for this email. Yeah. Because we could spend time on it, but
no, you have other people who submitted. So
I would grade this as a C- intro. Like this doesn't get me interested. I mean, it's normal ways people talk for sure, but it's just, this is all the boring part. The interesting part is the name of her book and this. So take the interesting part and put it at the top. Get me hooked into the email. Like there's a popular copywriting framework called AIDI, and A stands for attention. The very first job of any copy is to literally just keep my attention. And I start yawning at the first 3 sentences here.
Okay.
So take the interesting stuff, put it at the top. The bullet hook framework is a good way to do it because you literally just start with that and start with, hey, most parents think that there's only one path. And I'm trying to think, there's a way to say that there's only one respectable path out of high school. And there's 5 respectable paths. And you shouldn't just cookie cutter your kids like you're in a factory. You should treat them like the individuals they are. And there's 5 respectable paths out of high school. Check out this episode, we'll talk about them. And I would probably tend to list them out specifically to get me like super invested. And don't keep it so vague. I got to listen to minute number 37 in a podcast interview to finally hear them. Give me enough to tell me. And you might even say like a way you can tease it if you don't want to do all 5 is my favorite one is this one, and give it a name, brand it into something. Yeah. So that'd be copy suggestions there.
Thank you so much.
By the way, this process, just behind the scenes stuff, is something we do for every email we send out. All of them are written by me, but the drafts and everything are written by various people on the team. So for example, today, I reviewed 3 different emails that the team wrote. This is one of them that'll go out. I don't know when this goes out, like in a month or something. And they post the concept. I give them feedback on the concept. They post the draft. I shoot a Loom video talking through the email, giving them feedback on it. And then they post the final, and then I approve it and we send it. I probably write from scratch a third of them, and the rest of the team writes the drafts of the other 2/3, and I give feedback on them. It's great copywriting training for me, great copywriting training for them. But this process, like use that, like get other people to, if you have the time, and I would definitely make the time. There's ways you can speed it up and to make it really efficient for people, but have somebody else look at your copy. It can make a huge difference. I catch stuff all the time that I would never catch in my own stuff, but I catch in other people's stuff, and it makes me a better copywriter and them a better copywriter. So this whole process is something that is one of the key parts of our business, is just making sure every piece of copy has 2 sets of eyes put on it. Okay, we got another one, Will?
Yeah, there's actually a sales sequence that I sent you.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
You see it?
I think so.
From Samaya.
That's the same one.
Here, let me bump it up.
For some reason, it's a pain to click on these links. All right, try this. There we go.
There you go.
All right, unmute whoever's it was. Are they still here?
Yeah, Samaya, you just hopped on.
Samaya, there you go. That's it. Cool. All right. We're not going to read the whole sequence. Which email do you want us to focus on?
Just the first one.
Okay,
This is around intermittent fasting challenges. So when people express interest in learning about them, this is the first email that they're getting. It's a pretty basic subject line. So I wanted to see if there was a spicier, better version.
Yeah.
Nice.
Current subject line, starter and lifestyle intermittent fasting. Yeah. Alternate subject line, welcome to the Fast Fam. So somebody gets this when they sign up for the newsletter or sign up for a challenge, you said?
Or they're just like learning about my challenge. So most of my leads come in from social media, like on Instagram. They hear about my challenges and they want to learn more.
Okay.
And so this is the email that they get.
Hey, by the way, Chris gave a really good piece of advice for having other people look at it. read it out loud if you don't have a second set of eyes. And literally just pull up your own email and read it. And if you hit something that's just like you're running out of breath by the end of the sentence, just cut the sentence in half. Screw grammar, put a period there, put the word and continue. Just break the thing up. Choppy copy works really well. Long-winded, big blocks of text don't work super well. There's a phrase that I'll use internally sometimes called word art. Literally the design, like I'm not looking at any words on the paper right now, but the design is big block of text, big block of text, big block of text. And I'm like, I just get kind of bored. It's hard to skim it. It's not skimmy. I'm not able to skim it to get the point real quick. I have to really, this is like eating a giant steak. I'm like, man, I got to like work for it a little bit. And I want you to start with giving me some Skittles. I make it super simple to get into the thing. Give me like the easy thing to flow into. And then you can put chunky stuff at the bottom. It's good not to just have, like you see, the other extreme of this is these copywriters on sales pages that have like one sentence per line with line breaks between all of them. And it looks like a 3-year-old's writing. That's like really weird too. So you can look at the word art of this email. Love this. I try to make a bullet pointed list in almost anything I ever write because they're really easy to read. It's just easy to process. It's like the steak that's already cut up for you. You don't have to get the thing. It's just easy. It's easy to get to the point. But then you get to a section like this. These are a couple sentences together, but these are super easy to read. I can skim it and it's hooking me in as I'm skimming it. Okay, we're getting into copywriting advice and not just subject line advice. So let's see if we can find a cool subject line for this. We'll get to skim the email to get the point of it. Thanks for your interest in joining one of my intermittent fasting challenges. Over 3,000 people have completed the challenge so far. That's interesting. I'm just looking for interesting things. 3,000 people, that's kind of cool, have completed the challenge. I'm an alum, blah, blah, blah. Soon you could be one of them. Intermittent fasting has the power to change your life. It's changed mine. That's why I've made it my mission. Share the power, blah, 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 how to choose. You have 2 options to choose from: 30-day starter challenge, 8-week lifestyle challenge. That's kind of interesting. Each challenge offers flexibility that lets you completely decide what style, blah, blah, blah. You can easily be a member of a challenge, lost 20. Oh, this is cool. Lose 20 to 100 pounds. It's kind of an interesting concept. I personally have lost 64 pounds. I mean, okay, like take all this and put it at the top of your copy. Like this is the interesting part. Start with this stuff. Put all this stuff that's kind of, these are the details, but like you got to get me to the details. So like take this and put it at the top of the thing.
Yeah, like
this
Sam
makes your mission actually pop because it's your story. Will?
Sam always says like the result is all people care about. Yeah, and that right there was it. You know,
this is the cool part. But more than that, you benefit of the weight loss. Blah, blah, blah. My goal is literally just help you something. 30 days, $69. Oh, you're selling stuff here. That's cool. Exactly what it sounds like. For those who need help getting started. Oh, 8 weeks. I put 8 days. Anyway, starter challenge, lifestyle challenge, upcoming keto kickoff. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's stick to the subject line. All right. So we got a couple concepts here. Something about 3,000 people have done it. That's kind of cool. Which one, like there's a decision to make. Which challenge will it be? There's something there. 4 weeks or 8 weeks or something like that. I don't know. There's something there. There's your story. I lost 20 to 100 pounds. Which one is it? How much did you lose?
I lost 65.
65 pounds.
You know, Brian, who this makes me think of, that does a really good job with this is a past client of ours who runs, is it Masala?
Oh.
Body?
Ramit sister.
Yes. What is her site? Yeah, masalabody.com. Nagina. And that might be good for you, Samaya, to look at some of her copy and she has a very similar sales system as you. She has some lower tier ticket stuff, and Masala, like Tikka Masala Body is her site. She's got some really, really good stuff you might could model from too.
Okay.
30-day women's intervention. Also, just concept of the email. I would focus it on the one thing you want them to do. Don't give them 3 options. Give them one thing to buy. That's outside of the subject line scope. But by giving me 3 things, that's like giving me a cow. I can't even eat the steak. I got to find the cow. I got to kill the cow. I got to figure out what cut of beef I want. I got to cut it off. And it's just like a ton of work just practically. It's a ton of work to process this email for someone to take it and fully understand it. I would focus it on give them the challenge you want them to take,
Mhm.
build a sequence out of that, and then downsell the next challenge out of that. So they just have one thing to focus on at a
60%
time.
of the people do the 8-week lifestyle challenge because they're on average, people are looking to lose 40 pounds. So they need a little bit more than 30 days to do it.
Yep. Go with that then. That's the starter one you said, or which?
That's the lifestyle challenge.
Lifestyle. Okay, this one here.
The
Cool.
8 weeks.
It's $99. That's a perfectly fine welcome intro offer. All right, just looking at 28 intermittent fasting for 30 days. Oh, how long did it take you to lose your weight?
60 pounds, about five months, 5.5 months.
So that could be an interesting.
Yeah,
you can learn a lot. Hey, by the way, you can learn a lot about people by their YouTube algorithm feed. It's a fun thing to show publicly. I listen to lots of Joe Rogan and Rockets, and I've got into lifestyle RV van people lately. I was watching one last night, and Stacy's like, "Why are you watching these people?" Anyway, good stuff. What were you saying, Will? Sorry.
I was saying you could try the you mentioned the Meet Cheryl email. And so Maya, depending on where these people are and knowing who you are, you could share your story there, right?
So one of my biggest leads actually comes from a YouTube video. It was the Today Show, and it's at like 3 million views right now. So people will come across that video and then Google my name and then come across my Instagram and then come across the email from there.
Oh, that's great.
This one?
Yeah.
Awesome partnership right there.
I mean, yeah, that's good. Okay.
But they don't like link my site or anything. It's just a caption. It was a media. It was like a press interview.
Mm-hmm. Meet Samaya. Yeah, I like tying in. This is concept of the email a little bit, but feeds back to subject line. The weight loss with the challenge. Like, this is what I did.
My worry about that is, won't it get picked up by like spam filters? I think anything related to like weight loss or numbers like that worry me in terms of it.
Have you seen that, or have you heard that?
Heard it? I haven't tried it.
Test it. Yeah. That stuff changes rapidly too. So we've had subject lines that have worked really well, and like autoresponder type sequences, welcome sequences, or automations of different types that used to crush and now don't. And we change them and then they stop. So that stuff, as like Gmail's filtering mechanisms are what we're basically talking about, because that's the main leader. So test it and see. That's the nice thing about this, especially with a sequence like this is automated. You can just test different things.
Yeah.
And how you word it, like we try to avoid free exclamation points. A lot of times we try to avoid dollar signs, although that's kind of the goal of our clients. So sometimes we use them, and we've had plenty of like killer email subject lines that have had dollar signs in them. There are things we just hard stop, don't avoid, because I don't want us to be perceived in particular ways. But yeah, so I think if you stayed with the hook of this, something like which challenge would it be to be interesting? Let's see what else was YouTube. Some of these YouTube subject lines are just really good. 30-day intermittent fasting weight loss challenge. So you could try something like 60-day challenge. How much will you lose? How much can you lose? So this is what I do when I'm writing mine. Literally just brainstorm out different things like that. Go check a source or two, look at SWAT file, look at some templates, and then pick my 2 favorite and go test them. So these are some pretty good ones here. If I had to pick, I like all of these better than these 2. These 2 are really long, and none of them are like intrinsically interesting. They're not grabbing my attention at all. They're very informative and very accurate, but they're not attention grabbing. So I think the interesting part of this, especially if you build it around the 8-week lifestyle challenge, is your story, what happened to you, the result they can get, which can be tied to you as well. So I'd probably kill that one.
Related to this, how do you rectify like an open rate being higher for one email, but a click-through rate being higher for another one with the subject line in terms of what's better? So like one might have a higher open rate, but the other one might have a higher click-through rate, even though it's the same email. I've seen that happen when I try to A/B test.
Some of this depends on your email software and what it calls click rate. Some emails measure click rate gross off total sends. Other ones base click rate off number of opens. So I would want to know the gross number. But ultimately, with this email, the thing that matters the most is the click.
Mhm.
But also you have a lot of the small numbers. So if you're talking about a couple hundred opens or something, I trust the click. I generally trust the click data more than the open data, because plenty of email services block or obfuscate in some kind of way the open cookie, but it's impossible to obfuscate the click because that redirects the website. So just the data reporting in an ESP is going to be more accurate for a click than an open. So if I had the same number and they were big enough numbers to trust them, like if I had 1,000 opens on 2 different emails, and one of them had 500 clicks and the other one had 100 clicks, and the delta was big, then I would definitely go with the 500 click, no matter what the open rate was. But if you get into small numbers, you can get weird data and you don't even trust it because it's not big enough. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In general, you have the same exact email with 2 different subject lines. The email should perform similar, but you can, unless you get into tricky subject lines or something, which I would almost in every case recommend not doing. Like you see some people, they'll, it's ridiculous. They use subject line that they're not replying. It'll get a great open rate, by the way. I mean, if you get a great open rate, if you want a great open rate, do this. Also, it'll hurt you long-term, like R call or something like that. And what they're doing is like, that's what happens when you reply to an email, and they'll like fake a conversation and stuff. You do that, or you use a subject line that has nothing to do, but it'll give it a high click rate. Like that kind of stuff will kill reputation, and it's just disconnected. It's kind of like you see this more often actually in ads, where an ad is really good, but you click it and go to a landing page, and they're just obviously they're just like kind of different. Like the headline in the ad isn't even on the page. Your headline in your ad should almost always be the headline on your page. So there's just congruency across the funnel. So unless there's incongruency between subject line and the email, like they should perform similarly, unless you have small numbers, and then it could get into just weird stuff, or get 50 people, and 30 clicked and 28 clicked. But when you do the percentages, that's a difference of 20%. You're like, yeah, okay, that's the same thing, really.
Yeah. Okay. No, yeah, I'm planning on, I'll be testing these out, including like even just testing the copy. But right now, this email has been sent out to 12,000 people to date, and it's been an 85% open rate, 22% click rate. But I haven't A/B tested multiple different things related.
How many is it sending out per month? Do you know monthly how many new ones it's sending?
Probably about 250 to 300.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so it'll take you a month or 2 to trust probably any numbers in it, because you need enough new volume coming through to see what's going on, unless you have some surge activity of some sort. But yeah, I mean, that definitely, those are really good numbers, for sure. So trying to improve them is great. Yeah, I would probably optimize down the sequence somewhere, actually. If this email is those numbers, like it just wouldn't be high on my list of optimizations, but later on in your sequence, almost always your engagement drops off. So I would tend to go to one of those, like email number 3. What is it? If it's at 50 or 40 or 30 or something, at that point, I would optimize that before I worried about this first one.
Yeah, that one is a 54% open rate, 7% click rate. It's kind of like the follow-up email.
Yeah.
But I'm like working on building out this like email sequence now. So
yeah, so what is email number 3? So that's like a FAQ or something.
Yeah, and that one hasn't been sent out yet. So I drafted that recently and I haven't implemented yet. So I'm reworking all of this right now.
This is kind of like a last call email, in which case I would hit urgency heavy in the subject line, meaning something like last chance. I actually posted one. Let me pull this up. Hopefully there's nothing else that I don't need to share here. Where is it at? Oh, this one here.
So I do rolling challenges. So I have kickoffs every Monday, and
cool.
They'll get like a promotion or like a reminder of like the next kickoff in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or with my next high value like email. So I haven't yet done like this is your last chance ever, but unless it's like your last chance for this next Monday's kickoff.
You don't have to say ever, but it is their last chance for this now. Like Best Buy will run the sale on the TVs next year too, but that doesn't mean they don't run a Black Friday is ending campaign. So just because it'll be available again later, you just don't say this is the last time you'll ever see the thing. It's like, hey, this promotion's ending. You have to pick your challenge now.
Awesome.
In 3 weeks again, they'll have a chance to do it again. That's fine. Here's a good example of this I got the other day. I guess this is almost like a cart abandonment sequence, but the email subject line caught my attention for sure. Warning, choose your challenge now. Warning, opportunity going away. Last call, last chance. I would tend to email number 3. I would tend to do something like that. And that'll get your open click rates way up. And just don't be disingenuous with it. But people either index way too far on either end of the spectrum of this. Either, well, technically I'm going to offer it at some point 7 years from now, so I can't say it's going away. Well, no business works like that. And you don't even feel weird when people do that. The other end of the spectrum is they say things are going away that actually don't go away at all. And that's like, both of those things are not ideal. So if you offer a thing, expire it. And you can offer it again. That's okay too. Like, both of those things are fine. And that happens all the time everywhere. And that email will be your highest converting email. Your last call emails, I would tend to do 2 on a day, 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening, a long one and a short one. Those in every launch, every promotion, nearly everything we've done, every client thing we've done, last call is the thing that moves the needle the most. Urgency is just real. People, and I do that. I see a Black Friday promotion. I'm like, I should do that. And they don't send me another email, and I totally forget about it, and I miss the promotion. But if you just sent me the 2 last call emails, I'd have been going to bed at 9:30, send the email, and bought the thing in my bed with the credit card and night light out, or my phone light out, trying to get the thing. But you didn't send it, so I literally just forgot about it. And before you give me urgency, it's just not important yet. It's like, oh yeah, I definitely need to do that at some point. And then it's going away. I was like, oh, I'm going to get it now. Anyway, I know you know all this stuff, but just to refresh you when you go to do your own stuff. It's effective. It allows you to help them, and you can do it with good taste and within complete ethical boundaries. All right. We've gone, wow, it's 5:11. Good heavens. We've gone 2 hours. This is great. I got to go.
Can I get the document link
Yeah.
somehow? Or I can
Oh,
just
yeah.
use the first page or something.
Yep. DM me real quick your email, and I'll just share it with you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate y'all. This was
Sweet.
great. I didn't
Yeah,
expect
guys.
it for 2 hours, but this was fantastic. Well, hey, give us feedback on this, by the way, in chat, in email. Let us know what you liked about this, what you didn't like about this. I want to tailor this to be something that you look forward to every week. And then we can build a nice community around that. We love hanging out together, and we get to know each other's names and faces, and we just do life and talk shop together. So that's the goal of this. So we'd love some feedback on this to make it better. And Simone.
And Pam, I will be sending you those books.
Yeah. That's good. All right. So I'm going to send this over to you now, Samaya. Y'all have a great one, and we'll chat again soon. Be looking for an invite. We'll send one. I think next week we're going to do another one. We haven't confirmed, but be looking for we'll send an email or 2 out about it so you don't miss it. All right. See y'all.
Awesome. See you guys.
Bye.